like,
yeah.
I'm talking about us. Like, what's a good intro? We usually just talk. Like the
We
conversation carries
we
into the
really
live.
we just carry into the live. That's part of the brand, I thought.
It is part of the brand. This is a friendship simulator.
Yeah, right. The friendship simulator. Oh, I just noticed we're live. Okay, I see. We're definitely staying on brand now. Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing today on this
Hello.
November afternoon? It's getting colder where I live, which is fantastic.
Same.
Well, you live in Canada. It's always cold, but I mean, it's November
Yeah.
now, so you gotten your first snow yet?
No, not yet. But Southern Ontario is actually not that bad. I mean,
Mm.
the summers are pretty hot, which I mean they can get kind of muggy. But I like last year we only had like a few like major snowfalls, which honestly, to tell you the truth, like I don't know, when I was a kid, I liked it, but I'm just like I don't know, like snow and like ice, like okay, snow is it's a pain to like shovel, but ice like just interferes with my Lindy walk. I hate that term, Lindy night walk. So it's like I gotta like walk on the road because like people don't salt their sidewalks. So it's like, oh my god, it's just a pain.
So do you just scroll through like Twitter or Telegram while you do your little night walk, and there's enough
I
salt
should.
that comes from you to just keep the road safe?
Yeah, I should.
Is your
I
seething
should.
and coping, keeping people safe, Gio?
Yeah, this is true. Gio doesn't want to shovel snow. No, I end up shoveling snow, but like, the benefit is that my old man has a backhoe. So if it gets really bad, he does the driveway. Because we have like a long ass driveway. Not long, we have like a wide driveway. It's like, when it's like longer, it's like wider than longer.
Mm.
Like a chode. Like it's
That's one way to describe it, yeah.
There's certain things they say that like even my old man, and my old man's just like he also has a perverted sense of humor, but he doesn't want to admit to it. But like
Well, who's the Italian in your family? Is it your dad's side or your mom's side?
we're both sides.
Oh, well then you're just screwed.
I mean ethnically, but yeah, I mean genetically, but of course like my mother, yeah, she grew up in Brazil. So but no, both of them. Yeah. So like for example, like in Canada we have bags of milk. Like do you got that in America?
No.
Yeah.
We've got jugs.
We have to buy a special thing at the dollar store to like put the bag in. It's like a container.
Like a self-serve.
Yeah.
You pay for a special bag, and like a fast food joint, you have to, dispense the milk properly.
It's kind of like that. It's like just it's like a holder. It like looks like, I mean, yeah, so like you put the bag in it, but then you cut like the corner off, right?
Yeah.
So it was like I remember like saying like, "Oh, you got to circumcise the corner." And my old man's like, "What the hell?" Like, he's like, "Are you that bad?" Like, I go, "Yeah."
Well, that really does sound like a huge deal for a high trust society. Like you have to cut the corner of the bag. It's kind of self-serve. I can't imagine that will last long in Canada.
Yeah.
People. My mind just went to the Halloween video everyone was dunking on the other day. Could you just imagine that, where like hordes of people speaking some foreign language and they're like just screwing with whatever the milk machine is to make it work?
Yeah.
I imagine that'll happen to your milk machines, or it'll just be a bunch of Punjabis that'll
people will like stab the bag open and just like rip
stab the bag open, or they'll just like say screw this, and they'll like take them. They'll bring in a cow to the supermarket and put the bag with their cow.
Well, that's like in India. How you ever seen them do like the street juices? Like it's like a milkshake, but it's got like it's got extra protein from the flies in it. They just like stab the milk bags and just like pour it in this huge thing, and they got like the huge ladle. I don't know why. Like I just ended up watching all these street food videos for a little bit, but that's coming to Canada. There'll be street. I mean there probably is in Toronto, in Bramptonistan. They probably have like street juice vendors that do that. Only when, I mean, well,
You'll
But
have to report back to us when you go on your Lindy walks, Gio, on how bad. I want. Speaking of solo mega variety content hour, I want one on like the absolute state of Canada. Like you just walk around for a little bit, like you just record. You're not live streaming it, but you just record like an hour in a major Canadian metropolitan area, and you just tell me how bad it is. I'd pay $5
IRL
a month
streaming is
for
not
that. Oh, I wouldn't dare tell you to IRL stream. I don't want you to get killed, Gio.
Yeah,
you're
IRL
like, hey, the
streaming is not a good
Prudentialist
idea.
sends a $5 super chat that's just just the like really specific like Indian area insults, and then Gio loses
It's like
weight
a
really
$5
quickly
super. Yeah.
for $5, and then he gets stabbed.
$5. Speaking of $5, I actually did have a Soul of Variety Mega Show, and listen, I'm not telling you to donate to my Patreon, starting at only $5 a month, which I will have to attend to. I've been sort of neglecting, a lot of the tiers, to write my book, but I will get on top of it probably next month. So, I mean, if you want a good Christmas present, the $20 tier, you get artist prints from the FUN GF series, and at $50 you get a little painting, so like a Bob Ross style painting. So yeah, I mean, if you want to donate, I mean, or if you want to donate super chats and you want to hear me say $5, so yeah, there you go.
We were making fun of that on Unpopular Opinions earlier this week because I
you were
well because Mr. D is the sort of the co-host of UO, and he was talking. He does his usual advertisement bit before he gets to the super chats, and I told Mr. D, I said, I love that bit so much that I've stolen it and I've crypted it in order to plug our friends' stuff, their books or publications or whatever. And I said, because it's too good to just do a little radio jingle advertisement and let them know that the show is sponsored by viewers like you. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I have to incorporate that now onto our show. So Mr. D was doing a Gio impression of $5 during the super chat. So there's mutual love across the pond there. It was quite enjoyable.
$5.
Yeah, but it was Mr. D saying it, which made it all the more perfect. But it was good times were had by all in that respect. Yeah, don't do streaming IRL. I don't want Gio to get killed. This show is I've described as profitable. So let's keep the good times rolling.
Streaming IRL has never done good for anybody. You either end up in jail, or you end up just like on IP2, like degrading yourself in front of 15 people on the live chat. So, I mean, when it's good, it's hot, it's really hot. I'm talking like Fuzi2 getting arrested at the airport, hot. I'm talking about Baked Alaska making a black homeless man dance to Johnny Rebel. Like stuff like that is just terrible. And it's so trashy. And although, I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. Some of that stuff is entertaining. Fuzi2 freaking out in the airport. But IRL streaming is, I feel like it's one of those, like, it reminds me of that Marina Abramovic thing where she, like, put her, like, she was in a room in front of, like,
the spirit cooking woman?
Yeah. But she was, like, in a room, and there was, like, a table full of weapons, and you could do anything you want to her, but nobody did anything to her, obviously. But she, like, you could, like, pay for an hour or so where she's just, like, staring off, and like people were talking to her. One guy, I believe, did feel her up. And Shia LaBeouf, he did the same thing where he like totally ripped Marina Abramovic off, but it was like in a apartment in New York where you could like go in there, and he had like that stupid paper bag over his face that said like I'm sorry for something or whatever. But that was Marina Abramovic that did it. And nobody like went too far because the whole thing was that like you could do anything to her. But I believe one guy did try to feel her up, but then it was like so weird because she was doing nothing, just like staring off into space. I think it was called Confrontation with the Artist. I believe that was she did this in like the late 70s. But anyways,
that's nuts.
Oh yeah.
Well, it kind of reminds me, like, there's a movie with like Willem Dafoe that came out not too long ago where he's like a thief or whatever, and he's like trapped in this house and he's like trying to survive, and turns out like it's an art exhibit, and like he hurt. Like I mean, like this guy, like Willem Dafoe's character, like breaks his bones trying to like find ways to escape and to survive in this little place. And he's like, I give up or whatever towards the end. Like he's been in there for like, I don't know, 6-8 weeks or whatever. And then like the place unlocks and it turns out the whole thing was an art exhibit. And it was just like, thank you for being like my muse or whatever. And it's just like, you know, there's a limit, I think, to performance art or something like that. But no, I mean, it was the movies. I've been told nothing but good things about it. So I should watch it more in full rather than just little bits and pieces. Yeah. Sorry, my voice is gone. I'm a little under the weather, chat, and I just spent 2 hours recording with Raging Mandrill as we begin a new series reviewing and reading through the chapters of Sean McMeekin's Stalin's War. So we went through all of more or less chapter 1 about Soviet foreign policy and the infiltration of the United States government under FDR. So that is being uploaded as we speak to Substack and to the YouTube channel, and it'll be on Subscribestar. So as low as $2 a month, you can have access to that early, and then we'll be dropping some new stuff. I put out a new Substack for Substack backers as well on progressive iconoclasm, talking about the destruction of the Robert E. Lee, statue in Charlottesville. So lots of great stuff. And then, of course, I was on UO earlier this week, and it's just been a busy but very good, productive week.
You want to talk about it? Or you all talked out of the Robert E. Lee one?
Well, I mean, I wrote about it. I would highly recommend people see it there. And it was funny because a guy named Miguel Alberto Fernandez, who's a former U.S. ambassador, and he works with like Memory TV, like the actual thing, not the meme bit. And he's a really good writer and analyst. And he quote tweeted it saying like, and he brought a snippet from it. And I'm like, this is paywall. Then I don't think Mr. Fernandez follows like or is a backer on Substack. So I'm like, you do the nice, well-written, non-edgy bits and that's not behind the paywall. And then like you go full bore, tell them how you really feel behind the paywall bit, which I did. And I was like, man, I hope he's not like a backer or whatever. Cause it's like, it's always weird when you want to put like your uninhibited thoughts and feelings and sort of crank up the spice to 11. And then it's like, oh yeah, your words are being read by like well-trained professionals and people that have pull within the federal government and stuff like that. It's sometimes kind of crazy to think about, like, I know Charles Haywood read the damn thing, and I'm like, oh, well, Charles Haywood's used to, he's a boomer Fed poster. But it's good times were had by all. And did you see that they canceled the Marine birthday ball?
That's right.
We didn't even cancel it when we invaded Iraq in 2003.
Wow.
So, and then
why'd they cancel it?
Unforeseen circumstances with potential deployments, which to me sounds like, hey, in case we go to war with Iran, I guess.
Well, that's like, that says it all. I mean, not even during the surge did they cancel the Marine ball. So, if you're pooped out of talking about Robert E. Lee, like there's really nothing. Is there anything more to say besides it's a tragedy and it's an unintentional source of power that they've created? But then again, you never know, because like the way that the internet works, I mean, the eternal image, the fast image is so ever present that, images that were to have held power before probably have a way, fast burnout rate. Like, for example, Donald Trump's mugshot, you'd figure that would stay for a little bit longer.
No, it died really quickly.
Yeah. And I was kind
of surprised at how quickly the mugshot just disappeared from everyone's like mind. Like this is the first time he tweets since getting his account reinstated. DonaldJTrump.com, and it's like the mugshot stuff. It's a great advertisement, got like millions of views, kind of like broke Twitter.
They say that Don Jr. may have tweeted it out.
Neither which way, right? Like,
whoever.
It comes from Trump. And it's just like gets hundreds of millions of views for 18 hours and then moved on. Give me current thing that's a little newer than last current thing. And it's the same thing with like the Robert E. Lee statue, and which is
it's already fading.
It's already fading, which is really depressing because if like you're, and it's even more depressing as like a commentator or an essayist where it's like, well, I got to get my thoughts down while it's still fresh. Like you're basically a journalist at that point.
I should have painted it, but that would probably get me into trouble. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Aristophanes' Revenge carved it into his pumpkin for Halloween, but like,
yeah, that was funny,
which was cool. But it does illustrate that, like, are we losing out on like the power of images, and we're more so focused on? Yeah. I mean, what are we transitioning to? Are we just transitioning to like the newest thing on the timeline? Because like I can remember back in like 2014, so like 10 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago in 2013. Where it was like the little boy that had drowned, like the migrant or whatever from Syria. That was like
God, that was everywhere. Yeah,
that was I mean, it was everywhere. But don't you find it a little strange that maybe we don't have like images don't capture or have the captive power of the imagination and political thought as they once did?
100%.
Like the image of the burnt out corpse from the first Gulf War in '93, like that was a major image.
I painted that. I put that in the painting for a buddy of mine for his album cover.
Right, but like that was powerful. The Twin Towers smoldering, or the plane hitting the towers, the smoldering Pennsylvania field. Barack Obama like taking the stage or whatever.
Barack Obama and the halo with the presidential seal, the halo.
Yeah, the presidential seal, the halo. Time magazine, which totally was like worship of black bodies right there. Like that's the official religion. I even make a joke about that in the Substack piece that maybe we do worship dark gods. Maybe we do worship dark gods in this country. Who knows? But but images don't seem to have the staying power that they once do, and I do think it has a lot to do with, again, the medium being the message. Just a crypt from McLuhan, because what's our medium tell us? Our medium tells us we have to be up with the current thing at all times and in all places, everywhere, all at once. And so that doesn't mean that an image has the staying power that it once did, because I can get a million images and videos right now. So like, what's the defining image of the war in Gaza? Well, there isn't one image. There's a million images. And that's the case. Like the hall, right? The annex hall of St. Porphyrios Church in Gaza. Like, cool, there's 100 images of that. And people moved on. Because it has to be about the next thing, what latest development. Yeah. We've stopped being a infographic society. We're not even typographic anymore. It's more about latest thing,
Yeah. No, that's exactly, like, I mean, the gratuitous of it. Like I mean, I don't know how I can describe it for YouTube, but like you could like go to the timeline. I have this, by the way, if you haven't followed it yet, go and follow my my Telegram, telegram.com/JennerProductions. I want to get it to at least 2K, come on. I talked about like you could see anything on the TL. Like you could see Jackson Hinkle post a video of a Palestinian child. I can't describe it for YouTube, but like
it's a miracle he hasn't been banned off Twitter for that shit.
Like no content warning either.
Yeah.
No warning. No, it's like, here you go on your TL, redacted children. Like it's, so the ubiquity of images, I think is like what you were saying. Like it's not, there's no reified image to like rally around, because the image itself becomes a weird form of like dialectics or language, where it's like, now we live in the imagistic world, and therefore, and I talk about this in my book, we live in the imagistic world, and that becomes the currency in ways in which language cannot, exactly process. But the downside of that is that the image, through its digital reproduction, is robbed of power. So, for example, like one of the first things I open up with in the first chapter of my book is the Cioran quote. Emil Cioran, not Cioran. Yeah, well, Cioran is in Romania, but where he says, when art is driven to exhaustion, it becomes both, it becomes ubiquitous. The creation of the work of art becomes both impossible and banal at the same time. I'm butchering it, but that mix of banality and impossibility, as he goes, as art proliferates, it's driven to exhaustion. As the image is proliferated, the image itself is driven to exhaustion. And so something that, like, can you imagine if you had on the cover of, say, every major paper of records, and for Zoomers that don't know, a letter of records is basically a national standard newspaper. Like, I mean, they're all a bunch of like hacks and rags nowadays. But say like the New York Times was the American, or the Washington Post were both examples of America's quote unquote letter of records, right?
Mhm.
Say we lived in not even, I would say, 2005, let alone 1995, like 1985. Imagine 1985. That image was on the cover of the New York Times of Robert E. Lee's face being melted away, the statue. Can you imagine what that would be like in 1985? Like, you can't, right? You can't imagine that.
Yeah, no,
But
you
now
can't.
we think it's, yeah, but now we think it's like ubiquitous, and so therefore we don't really pay mind to it. Like, it's funny, people, they take the Trump mugshot, or they take the Robert E. Lee statue, and they put it as their avatar, the glowing face.
Or they make it as
Yeah.
a Giga Chad or whatever,
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Notice how the images that hold perennial use are only for mimetics.
Yes,
we're
exactly.
not typographic, we're not infographic, we're a mimetic
That night it was
society.
released. Like, that night it was released, someone edited the Giga Chad of the Robert E. Lee statue being face melted. Yeah, yeah, like it was that night.
Like, does
it's
it serve? Does the image serve for this purpose? Is this qualitative enough to be served as a meme, or will I find something better in the quantity of images and videos that could be used to serve a point to get a message across? Like
100%.
Donald J. Trump's mugshot probably has sold a shitload of merchandise to like Gen Xers and boomers and so on.
Yeah,
But
even black rappers could use it.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of that.
You see the MAGA rappers?
Yeah, the
yeah.
pure coal. But it does illustrate, right, this society wherein, oh, by the way, we've got a million images and videos, but maybe one might be a good meme. Like,
yeah.
The fact that we've got like these meme templates that have evolved, like the Wojak, will probably be looked aged in 10 years from now when a new meme format comes up or something, or we've evolved past mimetic stuff and it's different. It does kind of worry me though, because like I think that like McLuhan saying that we're going to be more tribal, we're going to be less well read, we're more infographic. Like, no one's illiterate anymore. Like, I think about that weird sort of like, I don't know, like 18-year-old, 15-year-old kid who's like talking to women, and he's just like, oh, you read, name 10 books, right?
Yeah.
And the women can't do it. Like, no one reads anymore. There are a very select few of people on this earth that still read, especially for younger people. And so now everyone's sort of infographic. We're all tribal. We all have our niche ecosystems that we have to talk about, and that we all stay in our bubbles, which again is sort of normal for human societies even before the advent of our current digital mediums of communication.
Well, but women... Yeah, go ahead.
But it does illustrate, I think, to me that what do we do when, I mean, we're now more pictographic, right? Like, oh, Giga Chad, oh, Soy Jack, or whatever. Like, it's a unique method of communication where we've advanced so much in technology. We have also regressed to the most baseline, poor, or not poor, but like primitive forms of written communication, pictographic, hieroglyphic ways of communicating. And I think that that's an interesting phenomenon that I don't know who else is talking about it. And I'm sure that if I'm thinking about it, someone at like the Santa Fe Institute or the McLuhan Institute is, but it does illustrate that we are in a new medium of communication that I think as people have become more dumbed down and less well read and have a less long-term memory of history, that it just becomes so much easier to get diluted and caught up with the current thingism that you forget, what happened even 10 years ago.
Can you remember what happened 10 years ago?
Well, in 10 years ago, I was...
What year was that?
2013.
Oh God, yeah, man.
So
I was in university.
I was finishing high school, and I remember that the Syrian civil war stuff had really kicked off. This is right before Euromaidan. Barack Obama had been in office after re-election, and this was during the investigation into the IRS, into conservative groups, and how that played a huge role in the 2012 election.
Yeah, I remember Rush talking.
I remember, I think 2013 was the beginning part of when Obamacare was rolling out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it was a huge fuck up. Like the website
No,
was bad.
2014 was Gamergate.
And like, yeah, Obamacare rolled out. It was a natural disaster. Even the Washington Post was talking about it. It was just a bizarre time. And I think this is right before John Boehner had stepped down as House Speaker. What did he?
Oh, yeah. What was that thing with John Boehner? I remember this.
When did he quit being the Speaker of the House? Yeah, he quit in 2015. Okay, so he left right before Trump got into office. But yeah, it was a weird time. Weird time.
That guy was creepy as hell, man. That guy, I don't know.
He's from Ohio, and I mean, now he's like big on being pro pot. Like, what a
whoa. Shit. Maybe he's got glaucoma. That's probably why.
No,
I don't know.
Got to get my pot for my glaucoma.
Look at that picture where he's kissing Nancy Pelosi. That was, yeah, that's funny. Then like Chuck Schumer became Nancy Pelosi's number 2.
Yeah.
So, but no, what was the thing with the Obamacare? The website was screwed up.
Like, yeah, like you couldn't sign up for insurance. Oh, and even like the Washington Post was like, "Oh, this is bad."
The American government doesn't have programmers that could do it for them. Like, come on, man. Like, they probably have programmers now. You know,
it was a different time.
It was a different time. Nobody reads. You know what? Aging millennial and Gen X women read. You ever heard of dark romance, Prude?
We talked about this last week.
No, we talked about it in the group chat. But did we talk about dark romance on the
people reading like just hardcore porn? Yeah,
like RPing increases your girl boss power.
Remember?
It's fun.
And it's funny because like Radfem Twitter this week was just like, if you're into CNC, you're actually just a rapist. And it was just because they were like consensual, non-consensual. And I'm like, one, I hate the fact that this is on my timeline, and I try because I already hate Twitter because you never know when someone's just going to spam an image of like a dead, Palestinian child,
or an imam like cheek busting another imam.
or you get some random porn bot that follows you, and like if you don't check the bio and you just click on the profile, it's like bam, there's like hardcore pornography in your face, and I can't stand it. Like that is the one thing. Like pre-Elon Twitter, I had that shit under control. I was not going to be seeing hardcore pornography or mutilated children on my timeline relatively quickly, and it's really.
It feels like 4chan almost.
It's
or it feels like something awful.
It's X-chan at this point.
It's X-chan. It's X-chan. Like no, but there's a staggering number of women who are into CNC and like these books, these like dark romance. I talk about this because on the paywall, so you have to go and subscribe to Patreon or Substack to get the full version of this week's Content Minded. I talk about it in reviewing 8mm. How like the ubiquity of CNC content is like so crazy because like, and like young women are like reading this, and like there are women on like Instagram. Like if any woman is listening to this, you probably know there are like women with like their full name and face on Instagram and TikTok that have like LinkedIn profiles and like cross-post it to Facebook with their family that like review these books. Or it's part of like book talk where they'll like review like different genre breakdowns. Like this one's a vampire, this one's a king, this one's about like other supernatural.
You know who we need to blame? We need to blame Anne Rice.
I
feel like she started a whole bunch of this.
Yeah, she wrote that what was it called? Midnight Series or something?
Something like that. Books? Those vampire-esque stories, and you're just like, oh yeah, you
being non-consensual with a vampire increases my girl boss powers. That's basically
when I say lean in, I mean lean into the primordial fantasy of women being
I did speak about this with Kathy.
abducted and used.
Like no, but that's what I mean. But then in the end, they get abducted and used, but they also become girl bosses at the end. Like that's like why is this content like it's a very like I think it's a very safe version of like the actual horrific experiences that women go through in real life. And that's where I think the Radfems do have an argument. Because like why would you want to consume a safe version of very, disturbing realities that unfortunately a lot of women and some men go through in certain communities? But it's like, I don't know, man. Like there's something to it where I think it relates back to what we were talking about with the proliferation of images, or rather the proliferation of content on the internet. There was something that for those of you who watch Night Owls, a regular Yoshi.
Every time we talk about Night Owls, there's some poor guy in the comment sections like, where can I watch it? And I'm like, I have to break their heart and be like, they're never recorded. They're on Twitter, occasionally on Sunday evenings, and sometimes it's random. You'll see them because we'll be in them, but you're either there or you miss it, and it sucks.
There's rumors that some people record them, but
I'm sure that there are, but
they don't release them
publicly. I really have to break people's hearts, just like, hey, Night Owls doesn't exist.
Exactly.
But it does. It's like poetry art.
I'm gonna tell Future World over that
the Night Owl space never existed.
But Yoshi had this great thread about and his account's perpetually locked, so you have to follow him. But he's like, the average normie was not meant to have access to 24/7 information. It literally breaks their brains, because he goes, if we didn't have the internet, the culture would have been around 2005. Very far right neo-Austrian painter people, they would be just normie Republicans, and very far left people would be Democrats circa 1990s, or they would maybe be I don't know, some other identity group, but not really. And it's that is true. The reification of public discourse and the reification of culture as fandoms and so forth in general become this thing to where average normie, upper middle class, older millennial / Gen X women talk on their public Facebooks and Instagrams and TikToks with their own real names and faces about vampire non-consent books. It's crazy. It's this is the world that we live in. And it's
we were not supposed to have this kind of access to information.
Yeah.
And it is crazy because people will at any point in time just say, this is who I am or whatever, and this is the stuff that I'm into. Because you'll see this all the time when they're angry leftists on Twitter, and they'll reply to some dude and they'll be like, you've been on this website since 2010. You have over 350,000 tweets and less than 1,000 followers. Who are you broadcasting to? And the answer is that it doesn't matter who they're broadcasting to. What matters is that you have this 10-year plus history of their entire stream of consciousness and thought, and people will just broadcast the most private, deranged shit imaginable. And I'm not talking Howling Mutant style of perverted shit posting. I mean
no, that's an art form right there. That's
that I would argue it is. But it's the most just the depraved thoughts of someone who's just screaming into the void, who never got a following. And now you have 10 years of the most depraved thoughts about this rapey book that I read when I was in high school,
or all turfs deserve blah blah blah.
Or it'll just be people just screaming at the wall. In any other world, these people would be in an asylum screaming "kill the turf," writing it in the wall with their own feces. But now that they have Twitter, they can do it themselves.
They would be meant for garbage detail in life. They can't think or act.
The digital asylum is just well, actually, it's an okay thing. For these people to use their feces to say "kill all turfs" in bold capital letters on Twitter.com, because we can't put them through electroshock therapy, we can't.
We can't. Yeah, exactly. It's just
we joke about being the sons of the retards you couldn't lobotomize, but it's just some of these people probably should have been. Just saying.
Right-wing skits. To be fair, there's a lot of right-wing schizoposters that probably deserve an asylum too.
Oh yeah. This is a bipartisan deal. Some of y'all need to be put in the fucking asylum. I
don't know why. I don't know why.
Myself included, I'm sure someone could make the argument.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know why I find this so funny, but I remember. And here's the thing: I don't really hate Wyatt. If he's listening to this, I mean, I don't. I just disagree with a lot of his takes. But he's, I don't have personal hatred towards Wyatt. But I don't know why I found this so funny, because Wyatt had this thread about it's the thread that blew up about the mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And someone replied, he's like, what you do, you just lock them away. You bring back institutions. And then some guy replied to Wyatt, he's like, if they brought back the institutions, you'd be the first one they drag away and lock up.
Yeah, and?
Can you imagine it? It's like, Wyatt would be the first one to be carted away.
But yeah, and I hate to be that guy, but like, and
in the white room with black curtains.
But he's got a point,
Yeah, he's got a point. Yeah,
like when I don't
you're
care.
Like screaming at the top of your lungs about dubs, about Western anime dubs.
Like, could you like even if he gets carted off, right? Crazy. They called me crazy once. I could post on twitter.com in a padded room. I was crazy once. I could post on twitter.com in a padded room. But like, who cares?
You're gonna have time to post.
Who cares? Who cares? Like honest to God, like the greatest mental asylum has been social media, because I can see crazy. The craziest people make like schizo edits about like mutuals saying that like actually the guy's a Peruvian and like he posts in a hut and he just uses the Starbucks Wi-Fi across the corner to talk about Hyperborea.
We know a guy like that.
Yeah, I know we know a guy like that, and we know
who posted this internet cafe.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, you're referring to so and so. I just referring in general.
Lucas. Yeah.
But like, at what point? Like the asylum is just digital, and you can see that crazy shit all the time. So that's just like
Dora the Stormer, like tweeting from a favela.
Yeah, Dora the Stormer tweeting from a favela. Which shout out to Dora, because he's the guy that made my my profile picture. Yeah. In all of my artwork for the merch outside of he's done a few of the Prude Jacks, but yeah. Although this one was done by Mr. D, the Christmas hat one, which I quite like. But it's not yet time for the Christmas hat. That can wait. It is an asylum, though. It is an asylum. And I do think that
it's true what Facebook tweeted out back in 2015. He's like, America's just going to become one giant open air insane asylum in the future.
Yep. Yep.
You guys better send in some super chats right now for this keynote content. I mean, come on, guys. What are you doing?
See, I like how you're doing this on Twitter as well. So now everyone can listen to what kind of crazy fucking people we are. Like, oh, gee, this frog faggot should really be in an asylum as well. Like, oh, God almighty.
Oh, man. Don't want to be in an asylum. I live a lie. I can do a little bit of the David Draymond, the scat singing he does. That was, I remember I saw them when they did the Asylum tour.
Scat singing.
Yeah, like when he does ooh
yeah. I know. I'm just
I remember like it was crazy because like it was they would play the video of him getting dragged off into an asylum, but then he escapes. He redacts the guards. And then he like goes out and then he comes off on the stage with the same uniform. It was pretty cool when I saw Disturbed. I mean, it was the most like normie core band that I saw, but it was, pretty good nevertheless. I
haven't been to a show since before COVID.
Oh, this was years ago, man. This was years ago.
I kind of feel bad. I haven't been to a music show since prior to the coup.
Yeah, me too. Last show I saw was the Tea Party. That was the last concert I went to.
I saw Andy Schaaf in a bar. That was the last time I did anything.
I think I saw someone in a bar. I don't know.
Crazy times.
Anyways, the
38 minutes, kids, and we still haven't talked about the fucking manifesto. Our Doug, the intern from the Old Glory Club, was making fun of us the other day. It was just like, so can't wait for 3 weeks later when you get to part 3 of this manifesto. And it's just like, listen, we've done that only once for our good friend Billionaire Psycho, because it's a great piece and he has our endorsement. So Doug is going to get a few fingers broken later this week. It's okay.
It's okay.
Just a little taste.
They have the Wagey Cagey at the office in the Old Glory Club. They have like the silence room that Amazon has.
Oh no, it's just a radiator he's chained to, and he occasionally tweets with one hand to promote content. Doug is imaginary. He's not real. We're not physically inflicting violence on anyone, but no one knows who runs the account, which is fantastic. And so
I didn't see like these radfems talking about CNC. Where is did RFH talk about it?
I have RFH blocked, so I don't know if it came from RFH. It may have come from Kathrine's replies or something, but I was just like,
yeah, I'll see.
Yeah,
I'll see.
Yeah.
So need those super chats, boys. I come on, guys. I mean, listen, we're not going to read the article until I get another super. No, I'm not going to do that.
Jeez.
No, I wouldn't do that. I'm sorry. Okay, so. Oh my God.
Read the article, Gio. Read the article.
Okay, what horror is looking? One thing I have to address. So I started. So it's a while ago. Gio, did you cover the Red Book yet? In your Patreon? No, I did not. I will, but I'm thinking like if I were to write another book, okay, if I were to write another one, maybe a year from now, I probably would write it. I would bring back my university thesis.
I got a call. Hold on. Keep talking.
Yeah, no problem. I would probably bring back my university thesis on Zen and Chinese literati painting and Deleuze and Guattari, and I would probably write an actual aesthetic critique or art analysis on Jung's paintings in the Red Book. But that would take like a lot of research, and I would probably have to email the guy who compiled it, Shamdaswamy. Am I saying that right? Yeah, so that would like be like a year or so from now. But I mean, I thought I probably would review the Red Book, but that would take like a whole course type of thing, and I'd want to like test, actually reviewing it, because I do have a Discord, which I've unfortunately been neglecting. So if you become a patron, you can get access to the Discord, where I'd want to like do an actual book club thing, because I know people, they like the book club thing.
They do.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you do it, Prue? Do you guys have a group call, or how does that work? Joel used to like record them with like a group of people.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with StreamYards, and so I just record them, and then I make them available on Substack, YouTube.
I probably do it with my Discord.
I mean, I use the Discord to schedule it and let the patrons discuss which books we're going to do. Although I am doing this Stalin's War thing independent of people. I'm doing it kind of like how Pete Quinones does his book reviews and book readings. So that'll be uploaded today. It's actually uploading as we speak, so that'll be available for channel members, patrons on Subscribestar and Substack. And so it'll be for them for a week, and the next week it'll be out and available on all platforms. So
yeah,
good time for
that's what I mean. If I were to write that book, I'd have to like really research it. I'd have to like contact people who are Jungians. I mean, I know some people, but
you'd have to do work.
I'd have to do like actual work. Yeah. Instead of just my own research, I'd have to like go out and So probably a year, 2 years from now, I'll probably write another book. But it's just yeah. So, and see those super chats. I saw another one come. So anyways, let's get to the article finally. Do we have any other news? Did we want to talk about the Robert E. Lee statue or your new article?
I mean,
I was just the biopower one or no?
What, the biopower article? I've written a couple on biopower, but no, I haven't written. The immigration one is the next one I'm working on. That'll be out soon. Okay. I have some previous writing obligations that I have to finish prior to that. Speaking of which, it's finally out behind the paywall. My review of Sohrab Ahmari's Tyranny Inc.
On
Mars Review
of Books.
And yeah, you can read that there. Check my community post. Go check out the Mars Review of Books. Go buy a copy if you want a physical one in print, but it has been sprung from the paywall, so you can now go read that in full. And I've been told by the editor and by friends who were together at the Urbit Assembly that it was a very good pleasure to work with them and to work with me. So hopefully I can write for them more in the future. And now
think Sohrab will respond?
I don't know. He has me blocked, so if he responds, I haven't seen it.
I'll have to go on my
because he blocked me after he was like shitting on the South, and I was like, find someone to love you, like Sohrab Ahmari hates white people, and I got blocked. So I got a review copy of his book, which I can't disclose how, because I got this review copy after he blocked me on Twitter. And and it was a good time to just write
Hey, did
about
you see that David
bad
Reboy is
book.
getting paid by the Hungarian government? Did you see that?
No, I did not actually. What's this all about?
He got paid to tweet by Hungary and by Ron DeSantis, and it's like it was just like a portfolio of all of his tweets. It was hilarious.
Oh, really? Now I gotta go look this up.
Yeah, you have to look it up. Yeah,
David Reboy Hungary.
I'd imagine Sorab is getting paid by people like whoever he works for.
Claremont Institute senior fellow David Reboy was evidently paid $35,000 by Hungary to generate positive media coverage. And then if you look at his activities disclosure, it's like 30 PDF screenshots of his tweet. Oh my gosh.
I wish Orban paid us to. I like Hungary, you know.
I wish Orban paid us. David Reboy, a Hungary-loving, Qatar-hating bodybuilder with ties to John Bolton.
Woo! And
man,
the DeSantis campaign.
This is some great shit. Sorry, this is really funny to me.
Oh man.
One of these screenshots is here's what Hungary paid me to do. Lobbying disclosure is him arguing against a ban on foreign lobbying. Of course.
Arguing against a ban on foreign lobbying?
Well, duh. I mean, is this a FARA thing? That's a real question. Is this like a Foreign Agent Registration Act thing?
I think so. It is.
Yeah. Man, that's funny.
I wish I was.
Hungary is sort of like the sketchy place to be, because I mean, like Rod Dreher lives there now, and
well, the alt-right people used to go to Hungary. Then the Hungarians are like, we don't want these people here.
So they went to Ukraine, I take it.
Yeah, a lot of them went to yeah. Well, a lot of them, like even like people who were just like normie cons went to Hungary. Like it wasn't just Rod Dreher. It was other people too. But
well, I mean, Rod Dreher probably also moved there because like he had a nasty divorce and whatnot.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
And just like,
did he marry a Hungarian woman?
No, I don't know if he's remarried yet. Although he shouldn't be allowed to remarry.
Is it like the Catholic Church where you're married forever? Technically,
well, it's what Christ tells you, more or less, with the exception of like spousal abuse or sexual immorality. So unless one of those two were like cheating on each other, you shouldn't be allowed to be getting allowed to remarry. So I just kind of find it interesting. In one of his like, oh, I hope to remarry like a nice like Christian girl or something like that, and I'm like, according to God, you're not divorced. So good luck explaining that one before the dread judgment seat of Christ, Mr. Dreher. But it's not my place to judge.
You know what's funny? Like there's like certain evangelicals that have like very crazy, like almost like leftoid stereotypes of like evangelicals, like towards marriage and women, and they like there's this thing they have about like the difference between love and respect. Like women want love, men want respect.
Yeah,
which I can't understand. It's this crazy stuff, and like it is borderline abuse. Like that they're almost preaching about like the woman's role in the marriage. And it's like, I don't know, man, like I'm not every Protestant or like evangelicals like that, of course, but there's this one writer, what's her name, that talks about like the difference between love and respect. Oh man, I forget who it is. But anyways, you've heard about this, Prude. I mean, you probably know a lot about the evangelicals.
I really don't, because I didn't really grow up with a really strong religious upbringing, to be perfectly
honest. You were
an
army, Brad. You didn't grow up around evangelicals.
Well, you have to. No, I did, but I mean, like, here's the thing, man. Like, if you like for the chaplain services, you had two choices. You had like the Catholic Mass, or you had an unspecified non-denominational, read that as Baptist, service for the Protestants. And like there was nothing else. There wasn't anything specific to like Presbyterianism or your Lutherans or Anglicans or whatever. Although I'm sure they
during the Obama years they brought in like an imam and like a rabbi.
Well, yeah. You got to diversify your whatever. But anyway, so like I didn't really grow up with it because it really did just turn into like a social club for like the wives of the officer corps, and it was just like, at church lessons. So like we really only went during Christmas and Easter, like a lot of like nominally Christian people in America. And it wasn't until I was much older did I, seriously take stock in the value of religion. Like if you were to see my more cringy libertarian phase, I was advocating for, a less religious GOP to focus on like economics and a realist foreign policy. Like to me, the culture
Richard
war,
Hanania GOP.
probably, yeah, exactly that. And I shudder at what I could have become. But I mean, I thank God every day for nearly killing me a few times to sort of remind me of who's in charge. But yeah, I didn't grow up with it. But I mean, like, it's kind of funny that you bring this up because a friend of mine watches like weird evangelical Protestant television, like Daystar TV.
Oh
like,
man,
because like apparently it was started by like Marcus and Joni Lamb. I don't know why I'm reiterating the story, but like I just had her like give me all the details to this, and I was just like talking about it. I was like, it's pure gossipy stuff. And to a point where I was like, I felt bad enough to confess about this. I was just like, I don't like, so Marcus Lamb died of COVID or a heart complication. His like wife quickly remarried some other dude who's got like a show on the program, and like the kids that still work for the television business are like, back to you, mom and David or whatever. And it's just like, really, like, it's a really sketchy thing. And all the viewers are just like, this is not Christian. This is not cool that like you've remarried so quickly, that the wedding was shown for quite a few days and stuff like that. And then of course it's like really big Zionist evangelical TV, like aid to Israel and shit like that. And so I'm just like, and I was telling my friend, I was like, maybe don't watch this anymore. And she's like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna watch it anymore. And I'm like, good, because this is awful. Because like I don't understand. I'm like, there's one Israel, and it's not the nation state that was made in 1948 by subversion, terrorism, and murder. But that's a whole other story. And I was just like, ugh, this evangelical marriage shit is weird. Get me out of here. I'm uncomfy.
There's a lot of there's like my GF was talking to me about this. Being in America, right? There was like a lot of like these weirdo like conservative Christian, but it's like xenophilia too. Like they always had to adopt a child from Africa. That was like a big trend in the 2000s, where like evangelical couples, like the pastor would like adopt African children. And it was like a fashion statement almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge fashion. Like the adoption industry is really messed up, and I think
there's a lot of like homeless black children in America you could adopt. Why do you have to go to Africa? You know what I mean? But
it's easy to traffic them,
Yeah. But it's like really weird, like how that became like a status symbol with them. And it's like, listen, I'm not bashing Protestants. I'm not bashing like I'm talking about like the industry of the mega church evangelical that a lot of Christians would say is a grift anyways. Like that, like, you know what I'm talking, like Joel Osteen evangelicalism.
That mega church prosperity gospel shit,
Yeah.
like
you're adopting African children left and right, and it's like
it really kicked off after the Haiti earthquake in like 2011 or whatever, and it's just like it made it so easy to traffic just like third world brown children of your choice. Like it was just an accessory, and it's like that's a human life. Like I get it, right? Even if you don't find that, like even if you have different opinions on like the rest of the world, but it's just like that's a kid, and like you're just like plucked out of like the middle of nowhere. And maybe he has a materially better life or whatever, but like, what's the odds of it just being abused or just a status symbol or just that person's trying to be on like drugs or anything like that?
The difference is, Louis Cachet, is that like the Catholic Church actually goes to Africa. And like converts them. But yeah, how is the Catholic Church any better? I gotta agree with that. That is,
like it's just a disaster in all respects.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, oh, like this is awful in all respects of the word, and human trafficking is easier now than ever, and human trafficking is even more legal if you're a homosexual.
Exactly, Sergey. Exactly, 100%. Like
I'm not racist. I adopted an African. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
that's monstrous.
Does everyone remember?
Right?
Like, does everyone just forget? Like the movie The Blind Side, where Sandra Bullock wins an Oscar for just being like, I adopted a poor black retard and made him like a star-winning like football player. Like, do we just not have a memory of that anymore? Do we not?
Yeah. And he's like 6'5", and she's like 5'1".
And she's like 5'8" or whatever, and like this like just giant.
Let me tell you, boy, you gotta keep going.
You gotta keep going. You're gonna play that game. Quitters don't quit. Like they quit for life. And it's just like he could kill you. in an instant.
Yeah. What if we had this? I adopted a based right-wing bodybuilder. Well, there is like women in Sweden who adopt migrants that are like 19 years old.
Yeah, we know why. Yeah, I wonder what they're doing.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
Oh God. Yeah, the children, the migrant children, they're like 25 years old.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, man. This is what but apparently, what's crazy though, is that like in these like big church evangelicals, there's like at the one end, there's like extreme, like stereotypical woman, like, put in their place misogyny by interpreting the Bible and interpreting St. Paul in a certain way. But on the other end, there's also like extreme longhouseism, where you have like these evangelical women groups that have like do the Enneagram stuff, and they're like, they're like all into this gossipy like type of stuff, and they're like pastors' wives type of shit, like it's like really schizophrenic in a way, how they like have to like do a synthesis of like extreme biblical misogyny with extreme longhouseism. It's like very weird. I don't know. Us Catholics, we have our own weird stuff, of course, but it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't know. Based mommy GF adopt me. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it sets me. It puts me in the wrong place.
I mean, the Orthodox Church has some stuff too, like, with.
Oh, I don't. No one is.
Yeah,
immune
but
to
not
this.
as like extreme as like, I don't know.
No one is immune to this in any way, shape, or form. I'm just simply pointing out that it is. It makes me sick to my stomach, and it's unsettling, and it's wrong, and it should be destroyed. And that.
I had a question, Prude.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so like, how like an Orthodox priest can marry? Is it that like you can become a priest and marry before you go into the seminary, or can you get married after you become a priest as well? How does that work?
I think it's before.
So you can't get married after you become a priest?
To my understanding, no, you cannot.
Interesting.
But again, that is beyond my understanding. I have not done enough look into that. I mean, either which way, if I were to pursue that route, right? Like I would just think to myself, you
should get married first.
I should get married first. If not, I have to die hard and commit myself to exactly what I am doing, which is making sure I commit my life fully to Christ in that instance.
You know what? Like, I hate to say it, Prude. I know, listen. I know this is going to sound bad being a Catholic, but that is kind of like a good way. I think that's a pretty even approach, because like, it's not that like the priest being able to marry thing, like, without saying it for YouTube, it prevents a certain demographic from hiding in the seminary and hiding themselves, if you know what I mean, when it comes to the Catholic Church experience. So,
I am under a similar opinion. I think that if you weed out a certain demographic that has a propensity to say, oh, you don't have to be married with a wife, or you have to be celibate, and you're going to attract a certain crowd of people. But again, I'm not going to get into that here or there. And we've been talking for an hour and we haven't gone into the article yet.
The Marc Andreessen.
It's someone said, it's the Fez and Frog special that we talk for an hour before we even talk about whatever the hell we're supposed to talk about. So, Jamie, why don't you pull that up?
Okay. But I kind of agree with Louis Cachet here. It is like the right-wing obsession with image of marriages. But yeah, because it becomes like this political cudgel, you know what I mean? It becomes a status symbol of a political nature, where it's like, well, I'm married and I have kids and I'm a trad. And it's like, I'm not going to be like those libtards.
I'm not going to be like those fur baby libtards. And it's just like, yeah, but if you treat your if you treat your actual child like a fur baby, you're no different than a libtard.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. Like, oh, I'm not one of those guys. And it's just like, actually, you are.
Yeah. Well, we know a lot of guys who are married. We know a lot of women who are married.
And
And
yeah, I
it's
know,
fun,
but
you know?
they're not treating their children like fur babies. They're not treating
Exactly,
them as a
yeah.
political status symbol. And the people that
Yeah.
do that, or like the quote unquote wife guys that are like all obsessed about getting married, and it's
Oh,
like,
that's
if I
terrible,
just get
man.
married and if I just have kids and I do the bare minimum that everyone else has done throughout the human history, I own the libs. And it's like, but you don't. You
You
don't.
don't.
You
You don't. The
don't.
libs are gonna own you if you cede all institutions to them. The libs are
Yeah,
gonna own your
like
kids one day.
yeah, the libs will own your kids one day. Like,
Yeah, here you go. Thank you, Katie J, who is also a married woman, by the way. I agree. You have to Jeremy Boring out there saying marriage saves men's lives, which is about as serious as the shit Slay Lib saying race swapping character saves lives. It's so true. It's so true.
Like,
Oh my god.
you shouldn't feel like you're owning the libs for doing the bare minimum of continuing the human
Oh.
species.
I feel bad that a well-to-do married woman watches our like absolute nonsense.
I
Oh,
I
it's
do
true
I
though.
do
There's more than one married woman that watches this show.
it's crazy to think about.
Oh, my friend Beth watches this show. She has 2 children. She lives in Australia. She's married, and she's a good artist, and she watches the show. I don't
Well,
know
we're
what time is it in Australia?
that's a great question. I don't know. Isn't there like a 12-hour time difference, 13-hour time
Yeah.
difference?
Is it the other day? Is it
Is it
Friday?
tomorrow? It's
Is it
tomorrow. It's
This is
Friday.
why the Australians make the perfect accelerationists, because they live in the future.
They do.
Uh, that's so stupid.
Oh my gosh.
It's true though. It's true.
Yeah,
Anyways, let's get on to the Marc Andreessen.
Let's get to the article.
Finally,
An hour and 1 minute's a new record, kids. Like, it's
well,
so...
we had some good Kino in that first hour. I think
We
That
did.
was
We
pretty
did. We
good,
did. We did. Let's.
But exactly, like if you treat marriage and children like a fair, like for example, our good friend Vril, his wife's on Twitter and she doesn't follow me still. What's her name? Goth Mom. Is that her name? Goth.
I don't know. I don't. I just follow Vril. I don't need to follow someone else's wife on Twitter. There's something odd.
True.
There's something odd about that, Although I like it anytime that someone like replies to Vril's wife and Vril's like, she's talking about me. I will kill you and eat you alive. And I'm like, 'cause like Vril is jacked. And like it's just like he's a like 6 foot something jacked bodybuilder, and it's just like, listen, man, she's talking about
got 2
me.
kids.
I'm married to her. I will eat you alive. And I'm like, yes, Vril, you will. Yes, you will. That shit's entertaining to me. But
shout out to our friend Vril and his wife, Goth Mom.
Yeah.
They have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Anyways, and our good friend Country Club Cadillo, to post this picture. Of course, he blurred the face out. I highly recommend if you have kids and you want to share photos, please, whatever you do, God, for the love of God, blur their faces out. Like, totally. But he taught his kid how to sail. That was pretty cute.
Based.
Taught as well as kid how to sail. Based. Anyways, Techno Optimist. By the way, we're like an hour into the show. Did anyone get the title reference to this week's episode? Did anyone get it? I'm waiting for the chat. Did you get by I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optometrist? Did you get that reference?
The Trailer Park Boys reference?
Yeah, Ricky.
Yeah.
I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optometrist. Yeah, that is a pretty common reference, but anyways, so
yeah,
we were at the
Trailer Boys conference. Yeah. I think we were at technology, which everything good is downstream of growth, and I'm like, cancer has that same opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that the question of growth. What I was going to say last week is that this is a question that does cross ideological lines because it's something that I don't know if I should reference this because of the way Ulysses said that degrowth is basically just like left Thatcherism. And in my article, in the chapter I wrote about, it's called Guy and Kitsch Capitalism in my book, I use that phrase left Thatcherism. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty fascinated with a lot of the 2010s Pine Tree stuff. And I think that, I get what Andreessen's trying to say, but there is that thesis, I believe Nick Land talked a little bit about it, where the ability of growth cannot keep up with human demand, nor could it keep up with the ability of depleting the Earth's resources.
Yeah.
There's like a very weird sliding scale there. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. But because this question seems to cross ideological lines, because both the left and the right struggle with this in terms of the question of growth or the question of stopping growth or curtailing it, or the sort of natural dictates of a break limit to growth, which is another thing I think Andreessen's sort of papering over, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand the desire to be optimistic, but even optimism and telling people to be investing in you, for all the things that Kaczynski got wrong about, the ability to have it change our way that we perceive the world, and the way it makes us short-sighted, and the way that it cripples our capability to empathize or think long-term, and then we're stuck in this like feedback loop of over socialization. As much as he was blind to the benefits, I feel like Andreessen and them are just blind to the drawbacks. But then again, like, in my opinion, if you see that we're going to encounter like a human capital crisis where the world is going to not be capable of doing what these guys want to do, I would be I would just strap a brick to the accelerator and not think about it. Because like, it's the same thing with Elon Musk. Like, he's already being attacked by the federal government for following the law of not hiring asylum seekers and U.S. non-citizens because he has contracts with the DoD. So he's being sued for not being diverse enough, despite the fact he's following the law. And regardless of the fact whether or not that lawsuit or whatever plays out, it does illustrate like, oh, they really want you to be incapable from a human capital perspective to go to Mars. So like, accelerate, baby. Get me out of here before like, diverse competency crisis hordes tell me it's impossible to go to the moon again.
Yeah,
here we are.
Exactly. Oh yeah, New Gloff is also married. There you go.
There you go.
Over 6 years married, over 2 young 1-year-old. That's cute. There's something. Wait, I'm scrolling up. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Kate's been into 17 years with her husband. That's crazy. Anyways. So I think we read up to this part. We believe technology is a lever of the world, the way to make more with. Okay, so yeah, I contended with the more with less. That was basically like what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The main driver of economic growth, wage growth, and creation of new industries and new jobs, as people and capital are continuously freed to do more important. Someone told me that I should read a bit slower and not just like panic read. Wage growth and the creation of new industries and new jobs, as people and capital are continuously free to do more important, valuable things in the past. Now,
boy,
let me ask you, the creation of new technology, has it led to people kind of doing more productive things? In one sense, yeah, that's undeniable. But has it really, in a way?
Yeah.
I kind of disagree with that.
Raises some concerning questions.
Well, it creates new desires that create pseudo activities. This is what Ted Kaczynski was saying. But I think even Jacques Ellul talks about this, how like the lever of human activity in one sense becomes, as you unburden us from more physical labor, more menial and mental labor takes in to like consume the hours of your day and to consume the calories of your brain space, if that in your mental energy. So it's like kind of like there's an equilibrium there instead of like total like Marxism, where it's like it's funny because accelerationism and Marxism share like some assumptions together, like one of them being that if you free up the worker, that they're gonna like, do a little bit of work during the day, go fishing in the evening, read philosophy at nighttime.
Well, it's like the 4-hour work week,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want it to be real. But
oh yeah, definitely. I think
I'm also just like skeptical, because it is so like it is kind of innately utopian.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, can you accomplish that? I don't know if you can.
Well, I will say something, Prude. I will say something for like.
And let me clarify that statement before people think I'm just like a total Luddite or pessimist. I don't think it can happen because government won't let it happen.
Yeah.
And that's the Nate little libertarian in me thinking like, could you potentially have, because I have a bullshit fake work job that I work 40 hours a week with. And it's just like, I easily don't work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the amount of content and amount of stuff I shit post with on the internet. Could I make that a 4-hour workday and be good and done and still be earning a full-time job? Yeah, theoretically, yes. Is that going to happen? Probs not. That's my that's my point. But
go on. I think corporations as well wouldn't let that happen because there's a lot of incentive structures to keep the 9 to 5 work week. This is one thing I will agree with, like Bernie Bros and like people like David Graeber, peace be upon it. Like God rest his soul, David Graeber. Didn't agree with everything he said, of course, but it was tragic the way he died. Right?
Yeah.
He had a point in Bullshit Jobs, that his book, because it's like, corporations, they kind of have to keep up this appearance of a fake economy that will not let you just work your 4 hours a week and like get everything done. Like there's proceduralism, there's nonsense that other people rely, like basically there are a whole contingent of jobs in the job market that are basically parasitical upon people's time.
Yes.
That, conduct meetings and push paper and like move things around. Like there's a whole contingency tertiary economy of people that just suck time up. Right. And I think like that incentive structure for corporations and also like you were saying governments to like lower the work week to 4 hours a week, it would create massive efficiency, but you would also create huge pools of like basically laborless people that will have to like eat up government services because now you've destroyed their jobs by just wasting people's time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like HR would go away. Like you know what I mean? So
and HR isn't gonna go away. Like HR is like just
David Graeber wrote the book Bullshit Jobs, I believe. Yeah.
What was his comment real quick? Sorry.
There was a sociologist that wrote the
book, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was David Graeber.
It had, make sure it was real quick.
Bullshit Jobs. David Graeber, yeah, he wrote it. Okay. He was a sociologist. Yeah, David Graeber.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
But he was correct, that book. I mean,
I have a bullshit job. I know this, but like,
well, a lot of libertarians like Tom Woods, they hate that book, but it's.
There's truth to it, though. I mean, like 100%. How much of our economy is just made full of bullshit jobs? I mean,
you think your job's bullshit?
My job, of course, is bullshit. I don't produce anything meaningful. I'm not happy with it. Why do you think I'm looking for a job that puts me in a fucking office? Like I wrote about this at the beginning of in 2021. I was simply saying like, look, it's going to be nice that we can all work from home. And it's going to be nice to not deal with the office and all sorts of office bullshit. But the big problem is that you are now inviting labor into your home. You're now inviting your employer into your home.
Exactly.
Why? Because you're working from home. Your phone and your computer, you have to set strict boundaries. And the one thing that I liked about going to an office is that once I left the office, I was fucking done. And nowadays, that isn't the case because at any point in time, you can be texted, you can be emailed, you can be called, you can be on your computer, and someone will ding you about, hey, can you log on to Teams and like come in for this meeting to explain stuff on your day off? And it's like, fuck you. No, Teams. I don't want to. And so, but that's how it is. So like there's plenty of bullshit jobs. Like, why is it that, like every woman that works in an office is like some kind of like project manager with certification? And what do? They do nothing. They update a fucking Monday board. Like, most jobs are bullshit, but most jobs are bullshit because you got to keep women employed. And you also have to like keep men from like not wanting to off themselves because they need a paycheck to live. And I know that this sounds like really like lefty and whatnot, but like jobs,
not the woman part, but certainly the other parts. Yeah.
But I mean, like there are bullshit jobs. And so, it's nice that I have a bullshit job that helps like pay for gas and meds and stuff. But like, if I could do something a little more meaningful, that'd be great. Because, men want to be challenged. Men want to be able to go home at the end of the day and say like, yeah, I did something that was like worthwhile, or that like, hey, I built that. Ironically,
Sergey is 100% right.
Yeah, working from home. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That is one of the
It's one step
earliest
closer to
videos.
living in the pod.
This is one of the earliest videos that got some major traction and attention, was about the dangers of working from home, and I feel like I'm fucking vindicated. But
Plus,
let's
like
let's go on.
the Matt of like 3 years ago is not the Prudentialist of today. Like you could like go to an office every day. You don't have like physical limitations anymore, right? So
No, I mean,
yeah,
but even then, right? Like, we weren't.
yeah.
Not every office 3 years ago, or even not every office 3 years ago was like locked down, work from home. Even in 2021, they were like masking, social distancing, no like person right next to your computer workstation, and it was just like cool. I've got space. But now it was like being in a movie theater with a really loud group of certain people, because everyone would just like shout across the room, and it's like, please shut the hell up. But anyways, yeah, let's
Let's
continue
move
on.
on. I'm glad that we're doing a show that is like actual about issues instead of drama or whatever.
Yeah. Aren't you glad
We
we're not a drama show?
sometimes I like we like to balance it a digital archipelago, you know. I think that's where we drive so well, why people
But
enjoy us
but
because we're not really a
we're not
drama channel.
well, we're not no offense to them, but like we're not Kino Casino,
Yeah, exactly.
you know.
It gets to see drama. There's something my friend said. Um, Drama gets boring after a while because, like, you have to keep feeding into it in order for it to work. And
Yeah,
after a while, people get like tired of it. Like, how many
absolutely.
times can you like go over like this is what Teddy Feaser's doing, this is what this so and so is doing, this is what like it's after a while. It's like who cares? You know what I mean? Like Ethan Ralph is always going to show up on stream drunk. I'm sorry. Okay. That's the reality of Ethan Ralph. That's his life. So
Yeah.
it's like, like what more can Ethan Ralph do to like inspire people to become drama mongers? I don't know. It's just like what can you do? Like it's I don't know, man. Like
I don't
I'm gonna
know.
get you, Joshua Connor, man. Like, it's like, what? Was he like drunk? He called up PPP. He used to have his truck. He's like, I got a red truck, PPP. It's he was all drunk. It's like, okay, fine. It's like here's the freaks. It's like the whack pack of. Well, at least when Howard Stern was doing the whack pack, like it was even that got boring after a while, man. Like who cared? Like I mean, some of them are dead now. Like that guy, the little person. What was his name? The drunk. I think a few of them are dead now from the whack pack.
Oh, I'm
So
sure. I don't I
yeah,
don't I don't know enough about it to tell you.
yeah. But the internet's full of whack packs, so it's like Howard Stern became redundant after a while. You know. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyways, wow, that's like you know.
Some people are just gonna be, Jeff the drunk, and that's fine. But I just
Yeah,
feel like there's better things to pay attention to.
some people are going to be elegant Elliot off, and it's not gonna, you know.
Ugh.
Productivity growth causes prices to fall, supply to rise. Okay, we know all this. We believe this is the story of the material development of our civilization. This is why we are not still living in mud huts, eking out meager survival and waiting for nature to redact us. We believe this is why our descendants will live upon the stars. We believe this is why there is no material power, whether created by nature or by technology, that cannot be solved with more technology. Um, what about created by God? What about that?
Yeah, as soon as this like really got popular, he put out some like, AI, image prompt Byzantine style, where it's like you're worshiping like God the Father as a machine, and I was just like, yeah, I can't
He's
get on
not
board with.
really an atheist, Marc Andreessen, is he? Or is
I
he
don't.
some weirdo like
It's
accelerationist type?
I couldn't tell you, but it rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, the thing is, like, Andreessen seems like an all right dude. You know what I mean? Like, I
Oh,
don't want to
I'm
bash
sure.
him.
I don't have an
You
issue with
know,
him. I just,
these
I mean,
ideas are kind of funny to us. Put it that way.
it goes back to the issue of religion to me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
Uh, so
we believe this is why our descendants will live upon the stars. We have a problem of starvation, so we invented the Green Revolution. We have a problem of but then there's also problems with that. There's a lot of there's that Hindu woman that wrote the book critiquing the Green Revolution. She's like
I
a
haven't seen it or read it.
well, what's funny is that she was like a hardcore lefty, right? And she like went to the UN, But then she was like talking about seed oils and everything back in the day. And she was talking about like the Terminator strains in the seeds. I believe she wrote the book Seeds of Destruction. If everyone can pull, she's like she's a Hindu woman. Anyways, we have a power of darkness, so we invented electric lights. We have a problem of quotes, so we invented indoor heating. We invented fire before that. We have a problem with heating, so we invented air conditioning.
I was like,
isolation.
Yeah, we had fire at one point.
Oh, and here's the one where Andreessen got shredded by somebody that was like a Bernie bro. We have a problem of isolation, so we invented the internet. Oh, that's like Vedanta Shiva. Thank you, Vedanta Shiva. That's who I was referring to. Okay, Prude, we got to tackle this one. We have a problem with isolation, so we invented the internet, which ergo led to more isolation.
The answer to this is Sherry Turkle's 2011 book Alone Together.
Yeah, that's a great book. Yeah. No, I mean, he's got a point, though. I mean, that's how we know each other.
We invented the internet as a mechanism to survive and communicate with governments and institutions in the event of nuclear war. ARPANET's not great, and it sucked ass, but this has a defense capability root, not anything else. And to acknowledge,
do you think the American government has a backdoor to most internet servers? Right?
Almost all of them, outside of the Chinese, probably. So I can't say I'm.
The Chinese have their own backdoors.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I realized that you know what's funny about the Chinese?
Yeah,
is that I was watching this. I think it was a GDF video. And he's all over. He's like basically just anti-American, like
anti-Western, anti-American,
anti-West. Yeah, but he's got great videos. And did you know the Tiananmen Square thing kind of was a psyop in the sense of like why they did it? The Chinese actually allowed protesters, and they ended up like killing a few Chinese military personnel and like putting fire to tanks. And it's funny because like it was unironically the interpretation of Nevermore. World Dane wrote the lyrics to the song. It's called The Tiananmen Man, how he was like manipulating the media as like a spectacle.
Yeah, I think you've talked about this before.
Yeah, and that's like unironically the true narrative of like Nevermore got it correct. World Dane, again, God rest his soul. He, untimely death. He was only 50 years old. He died of alcoholism. One of my favorite singer in the world. So R.I.P. World Dane. But he was correct. Like the Tiananmen Man was like this manipulative spectacle, and the reason that the Chinese didn't like immediately run him over is because they knew the cameras were running, so it was like a total spectacle. And so yeah, even Tiananmen, like I remember like even boomers on Fox News because of the anti-Chinese neocon thing, right? Not to say, like, listen, we don't endorse the Chinese either. We're not Jackson Hinkle or but it's true, man. Like this boomer hatred of the Chinese, the Tiananmen Square thing was kind of like a psyop. It was like a Western, like, and they like redacted Chinese military people, and so yeah. I was fascinated by that, Prude. But anyways, so yeah, the internet creates. I would say that Andreessen does have a point, but at the same time, the internet has bred a more nuanced form of isolation more than ever. And you can't deny that. So exactly. Who is your favorite singer Tuesday? Because I know Chuck Schuldiner died of brain cancer. That was tragic. I mean, he was only 32 years old, Chuck Schuldiner. From death. I couldn't believe it, man. Like that. But I like to think that Chuck Schuldiner, he lived on a high note. Like he did. Chuck Schuldiner contributed more to music and in humanity than anyone could ever accomplish at the age of 32. You know what I mean? Oh, Jimmy Buffett died. Yeah, Jimmy Buffett died.
He died recently.
Yeah.
It was a recent death, right?
Yeah, it was last September. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going insane. Yeah, he died.
Yeah, he
September
just died.
1st. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause you never know with these things, man. Like, there's so many celebrity deaths that bleed together. Like Matthew Perry's dead. Death comes in threes. So who else is dying? Or was he the third? Like,
I think he was the third.
Some Palestinians died. Some Israelis died. Some Matthew Perry had.
Oh, speaking of Matthew Perry, we have problem with pandemics, so we invented no comment. Let's move past.
Yeah, we invented inoculations.
Yeah. Which I mean, okay, he is correct. Yeah, we're not like against. I'm not totally against them.
No,
But
I'm
it's
not
just,
either. I just
yeah,
these new ones aren't so great.
yeah, yeah. So let's move on before YouTube. We have a problem with poverty, so we invented technology to create abundance. But again, like that's yes, we've created abundance, we've created new farming methods, but there is always a price for everything. Um, like this is what Vedanta Shiva was talking about. That with new farming technology comes the unintended consequences of that in our
Yeah.
diets, even just the world population, which I mean, maybe we shouldn't bring up, but it's like there's unintended consequences to everything. And I think that the unfortunately, I hate to say it, but this is sort of like a tenet of the boomer truth regime that at least it was.
Yeah.
If you're a conservative boomer, that capitalism and the green revolution and all this, that it's an inherent good, and we created new technologies, and ignore the seed oils, ignore the Terminator strains, that basically enslaved third world farmers to like Western mega corporations. So yeah, there's unintended consequences to everything. But give us the real world problem, and we can invent technology that will solve it. Again, I mean,
Oh, I mean, we do. I mean, this is the whole
we
bit with.
do, yeah.
I,
Of
I, I
course.
wonder. I do wonder if Andreessen and them read Man and Technics by Spangler. That's my
He
real
probably
question.
has.
Because like we invent it, and we are man. Spangler would argue that man's evolution is also around his tools. As the hand, our tools, invented how we used our hands. Our hands also invented how we would shape our tools. This sort of like
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to say, I don't know what kind of relationship that would be, but it illustrates that like it's been part of it. And we've used our technology to, in a way, revolt against nature, and that fight against nature is hopeless and it's gonna be long and bloody, and optimism is cowardice. But this is the Optimist Manifesto, and so it makes me wonder, how at the end of the day do you beat nature? How do you beat the invention of the accident? But we'll continue on.
Well, even the Enlightenment couldn't figure that one out. Even
No.
I mean, they tried, but I mean, excuse me. To Andreessen's credit, like this does have a lot of philosophic history.
Yes.
But do we want to go over it? Well, I guess we have to. The markets one. We believe free markets are the most efficient way to organize a technological economy. Willing buyer meets willing seller. Price stuck. Both side benefits from exchange, or it doesn't happen. Profits are the incentive for producing supply that fulfills demand. Price encodes information about supply and demand. Markets cause entrepreneurs to seek out high price as a signal of opportunity to create new wealth by driving those prices down. Again, these are all kind of like, I don't mean to sound like a leftoid, but these assumptions are kind of hasn't meted out that cleanly in the real world. I mean, you're more of an economics person than I am, but we believe the market economy is
not that much.
Well, I mean, like there's an argument to me that like markets actually tend towards monopoly and towards the grinding down of efficiency based on the comfort level of certain corporations. That is also a given. That's something that Hayek's knowledge problem did not factor into. We believe the market,
especially now because we know less.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We believe market economy is a discovery machine, a form of intelligence. Well, he's correct. Yeah, he's kind of correct about that. An exploratory, evolutionary, adaptive system. Yeah, people find cheat codes and exploits for everything, it seems.
Yes.
So I would say that the economy, or a sort of quote unquote market economy, is a form of evolutionary intelligence, in that people try to find cheat codes and exploits. People try to find selling high, bidding low. It's like, people, there is a form of decentralized intelligence in the way that economic activity mediates out. But it's just that does that intelligence always gear towards innovation? That is the debatable question, which I feel that Andreessen and other like libertarians tend to gloss over, because they've read Hayek and Friedman, but yeah. We believe Hayek's knowledge problem overwhelms any centralized economic system. All actual information is on the edges, in the hands of people closer to the buyer. The central abstracted away the center, abstracted away from both buyer and the seller, knows nothing. Centralized planning is doomed to fail. The system of production and consumption is too complex. Decentralization harnesses complexity for the benefit of everyone. Centralization will starve you to death. Well, he is kind of correct, but then what happens when corporations do that centralization? It's like, what happens?
Yeah.
What happens when platforms can censor people way more effectively than the government, and thus knowledge is impeded, even though if the knowledge is from, come Graper 88.
Well, I mean, this is the thing
Yeah.
that, ironically, that's sort of like the quote unquote private tyranny that Amari talks about. I mean, his answer is just to be a shit lip and be like Elizabeth Warren and like regulate it. But again, that
Yeah.
begs it not begs, but it raises the important fact of like, when you have such a disseminated governmental system of unelected bureaucrats and managers that will have Congress write laws that just simply tell them to actually make the laws, what's the point?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And so yeah, like Tom Draper 88 can be like the new go-to man for the news, or be some kind of like propagandist for the other side that is telling another part of the story that is important to understand.
That's what Ricky Vaughn was, and look what happened.
Well, yeah, and I mean that dude's in prison. So like at the end of the day,
Yeah.
who's got the power? Well, it's going to be the state. Like this reminds me of a conversation that Morgoth and I were like passing back and forth, and he posted in a video of his. It's just like, well, what if Amazon wanted to go to war with France? Amazon's never going to go to war with France without the tacit endorsement of the United States federal government.
Yeah.
At no present point in time has a nation state government, at least the government of a nation state, ever felt threatened by the power of a corporation at this present moment. Because at the end of the day, the government, if ever felt threatened, it would bring all force to bear upon it and own it. Now there is the likelihood that could change anytime soon. I'm not open. This is not an iron law. I'm simply saying that it's easier for these guys to pay them off with some money, do some campaign finance, get federal, because they know if the federal government really wanted to do it, they could do exactly what they did with integrating schools and just nationalize the state national guards and fuck these guys up and do what's necessary,
Well, what's funny, Prude, is that Amazon didn't go to physical war with France, but you know what corporation went to economic war with France?
Apple.
Oh,
well,
no,
Apple.
Apple.
They kind of went to war with the EU in general over regulation.
Yeah. No, Boeing. At the behest of the American government. The American government lobbied for Boeing in France. And that's why French Air has mostly Boeing planes, because of the American government. And that's sort of like the problem of like Boeing goes to economic war with France. America goes to diplomatic war with France at the behest of Boeing. So it's like, there's a big, and this happened in the 2000s. This happened under Bush. Or was it Obama? It was under Bush. Bush Jr. So it's like, like you remember that. I mean, maybe you didn't remember, but you heard about that, the Boeing thing in the French government. The American government basically lobbied for Boeing in France. And I believe it was Sarkozy at the time. He's like, we don't want this because we have a better deal with British Airline. With I forget the British corporation.
Not to mention that you also have to do you have to get around the fact that like America has been pressuring France for a really long time to like quit your manufacturing deals with Iran.
Yeah, because the French, French intellectuals always had this thing about Iran too, right? Like there was a lot, like even Foucault admired Ayatollah Khomeini as a gay man into BDSM. But no, it's like the French, like they had to begrudgingly go along with it though, because they like there's the problem right there, and this is where the libertarians are correct, is that like the American government forcing a nation to go with a worse deal for the same equivalent product of airlines, that's kind of fucked up. That's like, that is bad, man. That's like, but of course the American government did it for a reason, right? Because Lockheed Martin and Boeing have to have a bottom line, and that's the reality of it. Why is it that Lockheed Martin has military contracts for Stinger missiles when I'm sure some corporation in Europe or elsewhere or China can manufacture Stinger missiles for the Ukrainians way cheaper, right? And of course the Kremlin's laughing at them because it takes 2 years almost to like I believe it takes 2 years to manufacture 1,000 Stinger missiles. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's like 1.5 to 2 years. So, there you go. So let's move on. We believe markets lift people out of poverty. In fact, markets are by far the most efficient way to lift vast numbers of people out of poverty. Whether that's a good or not, that's debatable. And also, however, has
depends on how you value human life.
Yeah, true. Even
but
in
like statistically speaking, most like pro-capitalist guys will flat out tell you, like, listen, the number of people that are living under $1 a day or whatever,
yeah,
that's been reduced, and they could argue that that's a net good or whatever. But like,
yeah,
not sure, less people are dying and line go up, so things are good. The ergo free market's great, right? Like, I'm not gonna entertain the tankies or commies on this. Like, the whole system is understanding. But like, look, so far people are living better, and that's something to go with.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. I mean, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of people like the one, like, these tankies, like, they'll have this cool point about, like, well, Russia, the communism, they took a primitive backwoods of Europe and they made it into like a world totalitarian industrial superpower.
Oh, you want to know how? By ripping straight from the United States industrial base. I just went over this today. The first three sections of Stalin's war is literally the Leninists and Stalin basically saying, look, Americans, we will pay you in fucking gold that we stole from the corpse of the czarists. And we will tell you right now, tell us how to be an industrial powerhouse. And the Americans did it under the table while we hadn't recognized them. They got everything that they needed from the capitalist states. They got everything they needed from industrialists that were hungry for cash. No, they got it from us. They got it from us.
Yeah.
It wasn't because the Marxist economic system was great. No, they did it because they could fucking, screw them, whatever the cheat them, screw them.
I forget how Hawes argues his way out of that point.
Because he's a retard. Because he's a retard.
No, he calls it like reactionary fiction that the Americans helped out the Soviet Union.
In the same way that the Stalinists would argue that it's a reactionary fiction that Lenin invited the Americans and the Brits to fight off the Germans inside Russian territory after the Germans bombed them for defaulting on their loans that they gave to the fucking commies. Like, I refused. This is why you don't debate with communists. The only answer to a communist is something that I can't say on YouTube, but you do what General Wrangel did, and you redact them. I'm sorry. There's no answer to communism. Like, sorry,
if the Germans had, you were really Feb post hour. I do not endorse that Feb post message, but it's funny though, because oh man, if the Germans, if they had a better manufacturing base and if they invaded during the spring and if they didn't focus on Britain or France, they probably could have defeated the Russians. They probably could have, just putting that out there. I mean, I think Britain and America wouldn't have let it. I mean, we all know why they had to defeat the Mustache Man. It was imperative that they had to, right? But I think, they, in terms of, it was just the war between the mid-century Germans and the Russians. If the Russians only had fledgling help by America and Britain, I think they could have won against the Russians. That would have been evident. Whether or not they could have maintained their gains by America and Britain entering the war, probably not. But you never know. I mean, this is weird theory fiction that people like. Even Philip K. Dick wrote that book, right?
And we'll never know.
Yeah, well, Philip K. Dick, he wrote that book about
the Man in the High Castle.
The Germans won.
Yeah,
Man in the High Castle.
But it's also like a book inside a book.
Yeah. So no, but he had a weird strategy as to how the Germans would have maintained power. I forget. Yeah. No, but I think it's funny because there's this guy on YouTube. He's re-editing all of the Jonathan Bowden speeches, to make them more audible. Which, I mean, I think certain Jonathan Bowden speeches, some of the charm was the fact that it was lo-fi, and exactly. Tukey's Mag. Yeah, Man in the High Castle is kind of larpy and outlandish, but
just a bit. In the same way, Do Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is more heavily painted by his understanding of Nazism than it is really about a science fiction story that we see in the movie.
Yeah, 100%. But no, but there's a point that Jonathan Bowden made, and he wasn't relying on fascist stories. He was relying on actual quote unquote academic historians, where there's this communist tanky line where they're like, Stalin did all the abuses, but Lenin's can be like a sort of secular saint of the regime. Even liberals can worship him, right? But
Yeah.
the funny thing is that when you look at the history of the gulags started under Lenin. It wasn't like, this picture of like wholesome Chungus Lenin is like nonsense. I mean, this is a distraction from, the main point, but, Bowden was right. And like, there's even like more conservative academic historians in the 70s that said, well, these picture that communists and libtards at the time, the new left, were like, Lenin's a secular saint, he's wholesome Chungus, and Stalin was the one that did all the abuses. That's like just that's just like flatly like not historically correct. But let's not tell Jackson Hinkle about that. Anyways,
don't tell his handlers, kids.
I'm a God-fearing American communist. Remember he had the two with his wife? He's like, I'm just a
God-fearing American communist. Let me go back 3 years and let me find out how you were a big Bernie supporter, you fucking retard.
What was that? What was that comic book? Who did? I remember we read it in school. We read it, and I remember reading it in a philosophy class where Superman was a communist because he
Superman Red Sun or whatever.
Yeah. It's like that's what he reminds me of. That's the aesthetic. It's like,
I'm an American communist. No, you're a Bernie bro that married a Russian. Shut the hell up.
No, like it's unironically like MAGA communism is like Red Sun. It's like that Superman Red Sun. Oh man. Anyways,
pure
we believe
coal.
markets
Pure coal.
I believe Superman Red Sun also, when he was a kid, he like worked in the coal mines in Ukraine, in Donbass. I believe that
been
was
easy
part of
with your laser vision, Superman. So see, this is my favorite thing about Red Sun, and then like the weird ethnically Jewish subtext to Superman. It's just like, so instead of being like an American, an American Jew born in like heartland, like white America, now it's like a Ukrainian Jew that like just embraces communism. Like, interesting.
And Lex Luthor is like the hardcore, like cutthroat capitalist.
Yeah, like,
he's like the wasp. He becomes a wasp.
Really now?
Luthor.
Interesting. No weird subtext about that.
Oh my god. That feel when no Superman Austrian.
They'll never be Superman White Sun or Black Sun, I should say.
Superman Black Sun.
There's no way Ka-El, which really kind of just means like word of God, right, is going to somehow, be pro-fasci.
Yeah. It's funny though, because remember during the Oppenheimer movie, people were like giga chatting Truman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. No, but it's who Gio and his fellow students mandatory browsing Reddit. Well, I had a professor who was basically like that. So
you had to browse Reddit in college, like is mandatory?
No, but I'm just like, it was like we read Superman Red Sun, so it was.
I only know about that because of like, I guess like Culture War comics / Gamergate stuff. I didn't take a lot of film or media classes in college. Yeah. I didn't take any.
It's True Glass Ball. That's true. But
yeah,
I hate to say it, but I mean, I guess Jackson Hinkle won in the end.
Did he though?
But did he really? I don't know, man.
It'd just be like the Gravemind from Halo. There is still time. Just stop.
Well, Russian women will eat you alive, bro. Like that's
Yeah, I know.
Eastern European women.
Like Slavic women, they'll just man. You thought you were long house with American women?
Oh my god.
Oh man. If you marry a Slav, get back to me.
Yeah.
I know Russian women, and I see their husbands at church sometimes, and they're just like the most like, and you're just like, yep. That's kind of what I expected.
There you go.
But go on.
His soul is destroyed.
That's why she's there praying for it. His soul is destroyed. That's why she's praying for him.
We believe markets do not require people to be perfect or even well-intentioned, but it's good because we have met people. Have you met people? Adam Smith, it is not from the benevolence of the butcher the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own self-interest, we address ourselves not to their humanity, but to their self-love, and never talk to them out of our own necessities, but of advantages. Well, I mean, that can go wrong. That could go south pretty quickly.
Yeah.
David Friedman points out that people do only do things for other people for three reasons: love, money, and force. Love doesn't scale unless you're a Ella girl, then love does scale. It's the economy. It's the economy.
That's why she works at Reason magazine when she's not under somebody.
I believe it was Simone Weil that tried to theorize in actual communism, love could probably scale. But even she concluded that that's probably not true, because only the love of God can scale to all of humanity. So that's true. Love cannot scale. The economy can only run on money or force. The force experiment has been run and found wanting. Has it really? That's another major assumption. Let's stick with money. Can money scale though?
Money. Well, so far it's been scaling.
Yeah, but in terms of like equitable scaling, I guess that is the leftist argument. Can it scale equitably?
No.
And the answer is no.
Nothing has ever been able to scale equitably.
You know what leftist ideology is? It's basically using force to scale love, and that never works. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's true. Like, that's basically
like remember, we had what's the word I'm looking for? Like, we just totally destroyed, like, even when the Soviets tried ending marriage, like eventually that kind of came back.
Yeah. They had like weird rules for marriage though.
Yeah.
That was, we believe the ultimate moral defense of markets is that to divert people who otherwise would raise armies and start religions into peaceful. Oh, well, that's not been true. Otherwise into peacefully productive pursuits. What about people that start religions around markets? There's people that have done this. There's like grind set new age cults in Silicon Valley. There's Vibe Camp. What about Vibe Camp? That can easily turn into a cult. I mean, it kind of
does. What the Urban Assembly?
we can't bash them too hard in case they want to give us money. But like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Urban Assembly. Yeah. Like, that's what I mean. Like, okay, markets divert people who otherwise would raise armies and start religions, but people in the market have done exactly those two things. They've raised armies, Eric Prince, and they've started religions. Yeah, it's like I don't know. I think this is the problem. It's not just Marc Andreessen. It's the problem with manifestos in general, is that you have to simplify reality to fit a manifesto. You have to simplify reality. And there's always going to be exceptions. Now, you could say that a general rule is that, people who otherwise would have like created cults or religions or armies, they would have done, they're doing other things. But the fact is there's market-based cults and there's market-based armies nowadays. So it's like, I don't know, like, anyways, we believe in markets, to quote Nicholas Stern, are how to take care of people we don't know. We believe markets are the way to generate societal wealth for everyone else we want to pay for, who wants to pay for, including basic research, social welfare programs, national defense. Doesn't that defeat his point though?
Because kind of. I'm not too sure. Read it again.
Okay, so he says that markets divert people who otherwise would raise armies, but he's saying that markets also provide for national defense as an alternative. So it's like that's kind of.
Well, I mean, I guess it becomes part of the question of just who's in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you have a wealthy business and you can employ people, yeah, I don't have to raise an army. I can be a titan of industry rather than a titan of warfare. And that's what I think he's saying, like, I don't have to kill people to enslave them or be a warrior. I can now have a business and do so. And even then, right, like, successful businesses are taxed in order to raise revenue for war and such, like, so no, this is that totally, that checks out. We're good.
No, but I mean, like, Donald Rumsfeld tried to like conduct the Iraq War like a corporation. Look how that turned out.
Also we had no. If everything that I understand from reading like sort of these like aftermath stories of the war, what was the objective?
Yeah.
I mean, other than to like oust Saddam and to quote unquote like, kill the Taliban, what was the goal?
There's people that speculate that
Well, I
it
know,
was
but
to
that's the
control
thing.
that area, but yeah.
But I mean, even in Afghanistan, right? Like the great article "Data Driven Defeat," the American Affairs Journal will just tell you that like you had charts and charts and charts about how to do this, how to conduct Y, what are the rules of engagement for this, and nothing that really told me what the win condition was because there wasn't a specified win condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my
True.
issue with these conflicts. It's just like so.
Yeah. So you have to run it like a corporation so you can keep going forever. You can go
Yeah.
for 20 years. Yeah. Yeah. No, that is a good point. But also if you want to scale love towards if you want to use the power of love to scale
Isn't the scaling of love just polycules?
yeah. Oh, I was gonna make a plea for super chats, but if you want to scale love towards us, you could send super chats. But it is polycules. Yeah, you're right.
It's effective altruism.
Yeah, the super chats. We believe.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we believe there's no conflict between capitalist profits and social welfare systems. Oh,
Really?
a lot of leftoids would say. I mean, some of them are kind of correct. Where it's like, I don't know, man. Like, there kind of is conflicts between capitalism and social welfare all the time. It's like that's.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, you
like
could say
it's
that.
the never-ending fight between how much do I
Yeah,
balance my gives
yeah.
versus, how much do I like focus on
The need of people.
the need of people versus the need
Well,
of my
you.
my business or my tax dollars. Like this is the whole debate
Yeah,
over taxation.
yeah, yeah. And you could say that like the incentive structures of social gives is totally distorted.
Well,
That is
sure.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
like because I mean, again, I think we do have a huge
it's never
fucking
enough.
well, that we have a huge fucking decadence problem.
Yeah, 100%. The production of markets creates the economic wealth that pays for everything else we want as a society. We believe central economic planning elevates the worst of us and drags everyone down. Markets exploit the best of us to benefit us all. Again, that's like doesn't work in reality. It's not always effective.
Yeah, it's not what you want it to be,
Yeah, these are like grand sweeping assumptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we believe central planning is a doom loop. Markets are an upward spiral. The economist William Nordhaus has shown us the creators of technology are only able to capture about 2% of economic value created with the technology. The other 98% flows through to society in the form of what economists call surplus, social surplus. Technological innovation in a market system is inherently philanthropic. Is it?
Is
By
it?
550 to 1 ratio. We get more value from a new technology, the single company that makes it, or the millions of billions of people who use it to improve our lives. QED. We believe in again, like this isn't always the case because there's been numerous examples of where newer technologies have been gate-kept and artificially inflated to where they don't become democratized and they don't become cheaper. So it's like, I mean, the government does it all the time, but corporations have done it all the time. Like
Yeah.
there's monopolies in the market for like relatively cheap technologies that just shouldn't exist, but they exist because a corporation has a monopoly over it, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like that is a sweeping assumption. We believe in David Ricardo's concept of comparative advantage as a distinct form of competitive advantage. Competitive advantage holds to even someone who is best in the world at doing everything. Will buy most things for other people due to opportunity costs. Comparative advantage in the context of a properly free market guarantees high employment regardless of the level of technology. We believe a market stage sets wages as a function of the marginal productivity of the worker. Therefore, technology which raises productivity drives wages up, not down. Ooh, I don't know about that. But then what happens when technology replaces you as a worker?
Well, I mean, the same thing that's always happened, that those people would typically go to new jobs or that they would be permanently phased out.
But that's what I mean. What happens when they don't go to new jobs?
Well, I mean,
You're screwed.
well, this is where you would have to balance the social welfare aspect.
Yeah. But I'm saying that the rate by which technology replaces workers does not evenly match up on a 1-to-1 ratio with the creation of new jobs. So it's like, you know what I mean, Prude? It's just, I don't know. It's a very complicated thing. Again, like I'm no economist. I'm just saying, like, when I hear like certain leftoids talk about this, they kind of do have a point about that. Like, only it's funny now because left liberals, they want offshoring because of the sins of colonialism or whatever crap. So it's
that,
like,
I mean, I feel like the social aspect of it's also a really great way to mask the fact that it's a lot cheaper to pay just a shitload of Indians for like an eighth of the cost it is to pay for like one competent white male.
Yeah, exactly. So it scales on a planetary basis, but then it screws over it screws over Western populations.
Yeah,
There was a study today. Go ahead, Prude.
No, go for it.
No, I was going to say here in Canada, there was an article that says the majority of like Zoomers and younger millennials, they economically are priced out of having children. So what does that tell you? You know what I mean?
That's an argument that's been made by even progressives of like the 1920s. It's just like, look, the material conditions make it incredibly difficult to have kids. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to let us be overrun by Irish and Italians and Polacks. That was a big argument for them. It was just like progressive racism for the home, which I don't I'm not 100%.
Right.
I'm not unsympathetic to that position.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Us Italians.
We were talking about that in one of the chats that you and I are both in, where it was just like, you can't afford a home in Vancouver.
Nope.
Like, Canada is full.
Nope. Yep.
And
Canada's
we're gonna build more homes to adjust for the housing crisis, but we're gonna have unfettered immigration into the country. One of these things is gonna give, and we already know the answer to it because we've already seen how it plays out.
So there you go. I mean, that's and they're tearing up a prime farmland here in Ontario to do this.
Yeah.
So
what a great time.
You know what's funny is that I've heard leftoids complain in Canada about like the destruction of the fruit belt. I'm like, well, you caused this, not Doug Ford. The federal government caused this because you know what I mean? Like, you were the ones that brought people in here that necessitates the destruction of farmlands, which happens to be closer to other suburbs. So it's like, you did this. Don't complain to me about the farmlands being destroyed or arable land because you keep bringing people in. Yeah, you keep bringing in like the majority of whole parts of India. So it's like, come on, man. Like, it's.
I'll respect you when you like turn off immigration.
Yeah, which they never will.
No,
unless Trudeau. I don't even think Pierre Palaver could like stop the bleeding at this point.
No, and I mean, and I think it was Right Nationalist was talking about. Apparently, there's leaked audio of Georgia Maloney or whatever saying like, we're going to bring somebody in that it's like you can't solve the problem.
Yeah,
and it's just like, isn't Pakistan kicking out like nearly 2 million Afghans from their country? If there's a will, there's a way.
There is,
and the answer to these things always leads to, what is all war but race war? Because it's one group of people going to war with another, and so eventually you're going to get that. And the progressives are going to get their helter skelter whether they like it or not.
Well, I said this on my solo variety show yesterday. I definitely should check out after this program. Like, you don't have to like do this like cartoonishly evil stuff. You just basically have to like deport them, but you have to also make sure that there could potentially be economic zones in their countries to where, you can cooperate and you could give them incentives to not go on boats and risk their lives to go across the channel and to flood Italy and flood Europe. But you know what a basic step is that of doing that, I said, is just to not destabilize these countries, to not go after the secular dictators that more or less ran their countries efficiently.
Yeah.
But now that cat's out of the bag, it's going to take it will take Libya generations to recuperate from what approaching the level that Gaddafi had it at, as opposed to what it is now, where you could buy a slave for $4 American. You know what I mean? Like in the middle of Tripoli. So you know what I mean? Like, that'll take generations to mend. And what are those people going to do?
If ever.
And what are those people going to do? They're going to go to fucking Europe. They're going to go to Italy. And it's like, can you blame them? I mean, yeah, you can blame them, but like, come on, man. Like, there is a solution to these things that doesn't resort to like cartoonish levels of evil. You know what I mean? Like it's just, that's what I think. And you don't have to be like frothing at the mouth, like wanting this some like revenge fantasy. It's as simple as when a migrant commits a crime against a person in Sweden, deport them. You know, why even waste resources by jailing them? Just deport them. And if they come back, deport them again so they don't harm another person in these countries that did not ask for it, that did not. I mean, you can say that, like, oh, Swedish women, they voted for it and they had signs that, but does that mean that they deserve it? No, come on, man. Like, it's just like, I understand the revenge fantasy if you're like a, you know, a chud or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I'm having a total revenge fantasy by watching the native population get raped and butchered. That really will own the chuds. I'm just cheering on the destruction of my own people.
Having like that one lady in Sweden that adopted a migrant that ended up redacting her, that really owned her. That's great. White women getting owned.
There's the leopards eating my face schadenfreude about that. I will admit that, like, I didn't think that the leopards would eat my face. Like, I get that.
Right.
I get that position.
No, of course, but you have to look at
there's a nugget of truth to it. But at the end of the day, At the end of the day, I now have to deal with the fact that that's one less person, that's one more murder, that's one more immigrant that's on the loose or whatever, that's going to kill more people.
Exactly.
No, they should have never been there in the first place, and there's no time like today to kick millions of them out.
Right. And you can, and when it comes to like, you know, white women, there's like, you can like look at the white women that voted for Trump. Like, you could easily switch them. It depends on the social climate. It depends on them not being manipulated by, you know, media forces.
Yeah, and it also depends on them usually being married with children.
Exactly. So they don't have to like displace their maternal instinct towards migrant military-age men. You know what I mean? Like, that's like, so I think, like, I know it's funny where people do the memes of like burn the cool people, like, but really it's monstrous when you're like gloating over the fact that like a Swedish woman got killed by someone that she thought was helping. You know, it's like, come on, man. Like
you really
think about like the future for a bit.
You have to. One of the biggest things that needs to be reiterated: you have to kill telescopic philanthropy and telescopic sympathy.
Yeah.
You have more problems with your neighbors. There are people dying of drug overdoses. There's all sorts of crazy shit going on right here, right now. I don't need to care about some Syrian halfway around the world.
There you go, capital K. Do you really want white women to get griped en masse? Is that really, you know? You voted for this, bro. But it's like, okay, yeah, you voted for this. But at the same time, there's a whole complicated system of things that go into why those people in Europe initially voted for politicians that led to the migrant crisis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the geopolitical, did those people vote for like these expansionary wars that displaced these secular dictators? Did they vote for that? No, come on, man.
I voted against Hillary Clinton for a reason.
Yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Like, even though, like, if you recall, a lot of these European countries, they were the first to pour out of Iraq and Afghanistan. They're like, if the Americans want to do it, then let them do it, right? But it's like, because European countries really don't have a lot of geopolitical power compared to America. Come on, right? So, like, these nations, you can't say, I mean, is it wrong-headed for these leftoids to, like, want endless immigration? Yes. Do I blame the activists that have an incentive for endless immigration? Of course. But when it comes to, like, the average, like, normie white woman voting for a politician, it's like, do you really want to, like, bring hell upon them because it's like schadenfreude? And like, come on, man. Like, I just think you have to look past the memes. You have to really think about, and even when it comes to the migrants themselves, I don't like wish harm upon all of them. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I think like a lot of people, they're exploiting a loophole in the system, and it's like, it's a natural human thing. And if you come from a refugee camp and you've been displaced because of a war, or because, our government funds certain sides to come and dislodge their governments that had more or less stable conditions, of course they're going to exploit that. But that being said, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have proactive steps to stop the bleeding and to kick out huge swaths of people that were exploiting the situation. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think you have to devolve into like cartoonish levels of evil to you know what I mean? Like, I just think that either argument is sort of unrealistic. You know what I mean? It's just
Absolutely.
yeah. And so as much as the migrant crisis should be solved, it doesn't have to be solved with like mass revenge fantasy. You know, I mean, if that makes me wholesome chungus or whatever, fine. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of real politique, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been in Europe and America for a long time that you can't exactly just kick them out, you know. But when it comes to the migrants that have come about from the 2010s onwards, I mean, yeah, of course. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, but then you hear these horror stories of these migrants that do terrible things, and they go through some like public training course instead of being deported. It's like, yeah, you know,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
these issues aren't going to get solved anytime soon.
No.
Anyways, we believe markets also increase society's well-being by generating work in which people productive engagement. We believe a universal basic income would turn people. Oh, this is interesting. We believe universal basic income would turn people into zoo animals to be farmed by the state. Yeah, he is.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Keep reading. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, man was not meant to be farmed. Man was meant to be useful, to be productive, to be proud. Now, I agree with this. I think that is the truth. I mean, this is why I think UBI yeah, like the UBI turning people into human cattle, that is pretty much that is the truth. You know what I mean? So yeah, that he is correct about that. The UBI argument is kind of stupid. I mean, I think that, you know, when it comes to a living wage, that could be different than UBI because the inflation crisis is you know, ridiculous, and the fact that you can't buy anything with an average dollar, you know. But UBI, that would just make things a lot worse. We believe technological change, far from reducing the need for human work, increases it by broadening the scope of what humans can productively do. Yeah, that's true. I mean, there is something to be said about technological change, creating new jobs and new abilities that require specialized skill. But then when it comes to, but here's the problem I feel with what Andreessen is saying. There is a looming competency crisis that I feel you cannot just wish away with technological innovation. Because when it comes to the technology that we have and the potential technology that we can create that can create more specialized job skills, what's going to happen when you have a population that can't exactly accentuate and develop that technology? That is a big problem. And in solving the competency crisis is in some ways more important than the raw technological capability of that society. That's something that I feel maybe he does later on, but let me see. Actually, does he address the competency crisis? I think he kind of does, but we'll see what happens. So we believe markets are generative, not exploitative. Well, that's another sweeping assumption. Positive sums, not zero sums. Participants in markets built on one another's work and output. James Carse describes finite games and infinite games. Finite games have an end where one person wins and another person loses. Infinite games never end. As players collaborate to discover what's possible in the game, markets are the ultimate infinite game. But again, like, this is the problem, though, is that is a sweeping assumption about the nature of markets, because there are markets that can be exploitative, and you know, they're whether or not regulation can be at hand is a big question. But at the same time, again, these are like, you know, he's kind of like having to simplify things. So, I mean, what does the chat feel about that? About exploitative versus generative markets? I personally think that there is a lot of generative markets, but there's a lot that are exploitative. So it's just, you know, I mean, Louis Cachet, jobs are just part of it. Tech also changes culture radically. No, exactly. And you can argue that a lot of technology has in some ways enabled the competency crisis, not just in terms of globalization and immigration, although they're a big part of it. Immigration is a big part of it, but also the fact that there is a fundamental maxim that Jacques Ellul talks about, which is that as technology increases, there are natural abilities that atrophy on the back end. And hyper-specialization also creates other forms of competency crises. Because if people are just, they're sort of geared towards very hyper-specific activities, then there's also a problem with general knowledge and general ability. That is also an element of the competency crisis that is not accounted for by just praising technological innovation, because that technological innovation breeds more specialization, thus atrophying general knowledge, right? Now, I know it's a boomer talking point that, because you have the calculator, therefore people can't do basic math. That's the truth, right? They can't do basic. I mean, I can't even do basic math on the fly. So I feel like because Marc Andreessen is in the tech industry, he's making way too much hay about just the raw qualitative replication of better and better technologies, right? Because look at energy, for instance. We still haven't cracked that nut of ecologically sustainable energy. Now, some people say nuclear, some people say clean coal. Yeah, there probably could be a combination until we find a better source. But, that's still a massive, that is a massive ceiling on the ability of technological innovation. It's just the raw energy it takes to produce it. Even the amount of resources on our planet, barring drilling asteroids for resources like coltan or whatever, that can go into computing technology. We've used rare earth minerals to generate computer chips. There's a ceiling on that. Because as we know, when it comes to recycling computer parts, there's also a limit to that in terms of its efficiency of recycling of rare earth minerals. And there's huge swaths of production of garbage, especially in the third world, that is not accounted for. Because as we know, even the recycling of things like, recycling computer parts, there's massive inefficiencies in that chain. And so I think the way to achieve all of this is if there is a tightening of efficiencies within already existing economies and already existing technologies. Yeah, exactly. Asteroid mining when.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so
what did you say? Sorry, I just got back in. I apologize for being out for a second. What did you say to "We believe since the human wants and needs are infinite"?
Human wants and needs. I didn't get to that part.
Oh, okay.
Human wants and needs are infinite. Economic demand is infinite, and job growth can continue on forever. I don't agree with that.
I don't think that's possible.
Human need is infinite. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Prue. Go ahead.
Well, I don't think that's infinite.
No.
I think I don't know if growth. I don't think can continue forever. Like, how are you outpacing entropy? How are we outpacing?
Human need is forever, though. True.
Human need is forever. This is correct. But at the same time, is technology going to be able to answer every human need? A, historically, it hasn't. B, You've always had to deal with excesses, both in population, both with the side effects of technology, as well as the
quality of population.
And quality of population. And I don't mean that just in like the HBD sense, but I mean like quality of life. Technology hasn't been able to answer that question. Unless you reprogram people, like putting magnets in their brain or Neuralink or whatever. I don't know how you're going to kill.
Well, apparently there's an article that says it's racist not to want to be chipped. It's white supremacy.
Oh, it's white supremacy that I don't want to be chipped like a bug man. That I want to be chipped like a dog at a fucking vet's office.
Yeah. That's
no, thank you. Who wrote that article?
I believe it was.
Looking it up real quick.
I think it was Vice.
Wanting to be chipped is racist.
I think it was either Vice or like / or Daily Dot or whatever.
Microchipped. Racist.
Here's a great line by Louis Cachet. Listen, if you want me to highlight your comment, you're gonna have to send me some super chats because this is a totally bad business model. Time is the greatest warrior of warriors.
Chat is real. Chat's a character.
Yeah, chat is no, but this is true. Time is the greatest of warriors.
Wasn't this originally like a anti-chippers are the? I thought this was originally like an article that was like satire.
No, I think someone wrote it for real.
Oh well, let me go. Anti-chippers.
The new crazy whatever I think it was called.
AFRU, yeah. Hell yeah, AFRU. What are these guys about? We support Black artists, privacy about AFRU on
like,
justice. The Black-led, Black-owned startup that combines fashion, streetwear with lifestyle commentary about social justice. Oh, so this is real, unfortunately.
Are they like Afrofuturists?
I guess they are, or
they're Afrofuturists.
Or yeah. Because like at the bottom of it, it has like a side profile of a Black woman saying, "Get our best content, max once a week, subscribe." And I'm like, no thanks. No, it's a real article by AFRU staff.
Yeah.
No, check out these bussin' stories. I'm sorry. Check out
these bussin' stories.
Oh, there's one comment that just says tranny. Oh, sorry, astronauts. While 85% of you are wonderful people, the other 25% were far too frequently brigades and troll farms. Their abusive comments have traumatized our moderators, so we won't allow comments until we build an ethical way to address the troll problem.
You're never gonna build that, man. The gripe. You're always gonna get griped.
Get fucked.
Yeah, but time is the greatest word. So okay, I think that time is a big issue, like temporality and spatiality, of course, two massive issues. Now, the transhumanists and the futurists like Marc Andreessen, if they believe that we can solve the spatiality question, then we could solve the temporality question in the sense that if we get off-world mining and we can mine resources, then in some ways that goes towards solving the time question of technology keeping up with human demand and whether technology would just burn itself out in the infinite sea of human desire and need. So it's like, I think that it's probably not true because time will always wear you out no matter what. It's inevitable. You can never, you're never going to run the clock against Father Time. It's just the truth. So
I mean, unless less immortality is somehow achieved.
Unless you become Methuselah, yeah.
Right? Like
or Tuck Everlasting, yeah. You can't do it.
But even then, I guess the thing that comes to my mind is just like once you do that, we're not really the human that we are now. I mean, humans will change, obviously, and we have changed as we evolve with our technology. It's just humans as is right now. We are not evolved and we don't have the time perception or the memory space. And I don't know how you're going to adopt the brain issue there is we think with a limited set of time.
Yes.
We think in a very limited temporal understanding of things. Ironically, this is
very true, Martin Heidegger.
Very true, Martin Heidegger. And in fact, this gets explored the best, I think, in fantasy fiction.
Yes.
Because, have you ever played Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic?
I've heard of Arcanum, but I've never played it.
It's a great Troika Games RPG, but one of the guiding gets criticized is that the thinly veiled illusion for Bill Gates basically discovers the steam engine from I think it's like the dwarfs, and he brings it to humanity, and mankind enters Victorian era industrial revolution overnight. And anyways, they criticize mankind with their technology because they're like, humans never live long enough to understand the consequences of their technological actions. And I've always thought that has been a very exciting thing to explore because we don't live long enough to understand the consequences of our actions. Do you think that the guy who invented plastic as we know it, I don't think he's alive today, but do you really think that he expected that microplastics would be even in the tissue of developing babies in the womb? Of course not.
Course, yeah.
But here we are, I don't know. These are just things that come to my mind. And then one day, sure, 2,000 years from now, if this video is somehow preserved, they'll look back at us and think, oh, what morons. But it's also really optimistic of me to assume that we're 2,000 years. Who knows? Lord, come quickly, come.
You know what's funny is that I remember when we were in school and we read Tuck Everlasting, there's this one kid in class that is like, okay, if he could live forever, what happens in 2 billion years when the sun explodes? And like, what's he gonna do? He's just gonna be out in space. And I'm like, it's crazy because you're like decades later, well, maybe almost 2 decades later, like when you read like object oriented ontology, like if you read Mia So or if you read like Graham Harman or Brassier, uh
Yeah.
Razier, like they literally like, okay, what, how can you imagine matter without human consciousness? And I'm like, wow, that kid in school probably had something like, it's like one of those stupid thoughts you have when you're a kid, like, oh well, like if he can live forever, what happens when the sun explodes and the earth blows up? Is he just going to be floating out in space forever?
That's
I'm
small
like,
brain thinking.
yeah,
Like, you're not I don't know, if I were to live forever, I guess the thing I would be thinking about, like, in a Tuck Everlasting situation is, and this is how you know that this kind of piece of fiction was written before, like, the advent of our current technology, is just like,
yeah,
say I invent a way or I discover a pool that grants me everlasting life, right?
hmm,
How do I survive, like, the techno surveillance dystopia that I currently live in?
yeah.
Well, Mr. Prudentialist, we noticed that you've been alive for 285 years and you've been collecting Social Security for 100.
We're gonna dissect you in a
We're gonna
lab.
dissect you and put you in the fucking mines. Your choice, like that's terrifying, Like that's what would
Yeah.
happen if we ever discovered a man that lived to be like 800 years old and he was like Tuck Everlasting and was like young, beautiful, and whatever. That
Well, they
dude
kept
would be
changing identities.
he'd be vivisected in a heartbeat. In
Yeah,
a
yeah.
heartbeat. Like, huh,
He'd be
same
treated like an
prince,
alien.
same prince, 5 different passports, 8 different nations, 6 different languages. Huh, it's,
There's a
I don't
painting of you from the 1800s.
and there's a daguerreotype photograph of you from, like, 1880. Huh. I think it's
Mm,
time for you to
interesting.
die now, we're gonna cut you off.
Yeah, the government would
I
totally
I
just
I
like,
want I want the I
yeah.
want the realistic stories about this. Like, there's the whole Man from Earth series about like the guy that since like the Paleocene or whatever has been like living ever since, and he's like can regenerate and he's done all these things and he's been
Oh
Buddha, he's
yeah.
been Jesus, he's been Nietzsche and whatever. And it's just like, that dude would have been like cut open and vivisected and shit by some government,
There was
like
that movie like that where it's
there
just
was
people
it
talking.
was made a movie. It was called Man from Earth.
Yeah, it was like there was just professors talking in a room
Yeah,
and
yeah, it
like,
was just that because he's moving
and
and
then he's
he
like, I became Jesus because I learned from the Buddhist breathing techniques how to like
yeah,
mimic
yeah,
my,
yeah.
yeah, like, oh
How
my
to
god,
mimic death
wow.
or whatever, and you're like, "Okay.
Yeah. Okay, buddy.
Then why don't you come back and tell all those guys they were wrong?"
You'd have like more children than Genghis Khan. Like that
Yeah.
would be. No, the government would
Oh.
totally just like, like that. I remember I saw Nugs tweet that where they managed to like like that modern museum of like of dead humans where like they managed to like get every nerve endings in the spinal column. And Nugs, he tweeted the photo. He's like, "That's what they're doing this to me tomorrow." And like that's what they would do. They would literally rip out every nerve from the guy's body.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They treat him like an alien. Like they'd bring him to a Groom Lake. They'd bring him to Area 51.
You'd be a living your eyeballs would move around even though you're
Yeah.
part of, like, one of those body works exhibits,
There was like that guy that Japanese guy that had like radiation poisoning where his like body melted away in this gangrenous pool, but he's technically was still alive. It would
Well,
be
I
like that. He
mean,
was kept alive by machines.
they kept him
Yeah.
alive by doctors and such. I think that story often gets like, "Oh, they experimented on him." I really do think that guy wanted to live.
Yeah, probably.
Um, and, I guess that's something that I would have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's a little more complex than that.
Well, maybe we'll evolve to in the future. We'll evolve to withstand huge doses of radiation because of what's going to happen.
Well, I pray I'm in heaven at that time.
Yeah, our kids will probably have to. But I had this theory that we're going to evolve to handle more salt and fat in our diet because of the American diet,
I feel
North
like
American diet.
I'm sure that's slowly happening already
Yeah,
as is.
probably. That's like they have Zoomer kids that have like this like bone growth in the back of their skulls just by like looking down on the phone. Remember that was a big deal 10 years ago?
It still is a
Kids,
big deal, like from
Yeah.
everything from posture to bone structure. A human hand strength has decreased over the last century. Due to like
Yeah.
less heavier equipment, technology, our phones and such. Crazy
Yeah.
stuff to think about,
It's like there'll be Zoomer like bodybuilders like on trend that like they'll like follow the lead of Sam Seelick and they'll like have like hours
autistic
long
grip strength and such.
autistic grip strength because of hour-long like jelking sessions.
Oh,
Like,
I wasn't
like
expecting it
jelking
to go there.
Oh yeah, but but they'll have like grip workouts.
Yeah.
They could like jelk more effectively. So it's like they'll have to like beat their generation of like hand dystrophy. Like all like Gen Alpha will be born with like mass hand weakness dystrophy, and they'll have to like find a way to like exercise it. So oh man, this is terrible.
It's a crazy
This is
thing to think about.
Crazy thing to think about, yeah.
But yes, it is disgusting. I agree with you.
They won't even have the strength to like hold up a bicycle, while they're riding a bike. Apparently, you have to have a lot of hand strength to ride a bike. I never learned how to. I tried learning how to ride a bike, but I don't know.
You've never learned how to ride a bike?
No, I tried. I tried hard, man, but it kept falling, and I was like, yeah, I can't.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know if that was stuff I'd ever admit out loud.
What, that I didn't learn how to ride a bike?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I tried.
Okay. Chat, press 1 if you know how to ride a bike.
Press 2 if you never learned how to ride a bike.
Let chat decide.
I got hurt trying to ride a bike, man.
I learned how to ride a bike. It scared me. I know how to ride a bike. Yeah.
Oh, man.
My dad taught me, and I had the whole like storybook Hallmark moment where the training wheels are off and he pushes you and he's not helping you anymore and you're riding a bike on your own. Like, is something changed where people just don't ride bikes anymore?
A lot of people don't ride bikes anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones, but there's some twos. See, there's some twos.
Well, I'm not judging you. I just assumed that this was like the experience everyone had.
You said like I would never admit that in public.
Because like I wouldn't. You know how to ride a bike? Everyone knows how to ride a bike. Everyone had like their father teach them how to ride a bike. What the fuck?
No, my old man. I'm telling you, my old man was desperate. He tried, man. It's just I couldn't do it.
Oh man.
I didn't have very good motor skills when I was a kid. Hand-eye coordination.
Now you're an artist, so thank
God.
I
know. So there you go. I probably do have some form of autism. That's probably correct. I used to ride a bike and then someone stole it.
There you go, John Carter. See, that's the acceptable answer. People don't ride bikes anymore because people steal bikes.
Yeah, that's true.
Dear God. Okay.
Bike riding is incommunicable. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Biscuits and Coffee.
That's true.
I think he's also got a Twitter account. I feel like I've seen that name before.
Yeah, Biscuits and Coffee.
Biscuits and Coffee. Oh.
If you've ridden someone like a bike.
Oh, that's different.
That's season 3 of Kink right there.
That's different. That's
Yeah.
So see, this is how it'll go. It'll be episode 69, and then episode 169. It'll be season 2 of Kink.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have 100 more episodes to mentally prepare myself before being scarred again.
Season 2 is actually pretty good. Maybe we should do season 2.
I hurt myself. I hurt myself.
Today. Gio on his 3rd hour of wrestling to have autism.
Does your girlfriend have
like
a
autism?
wrestling fan?
No,
is she a wrestling fan? Is she okay with your wrestling autism?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's really what matters.
Yeah.
Is she okay with you mansplaining about these wrestling references?
Oh yeah, of course.
Then you're good. That's what matters.
I had to hockey splainer when that guy got his throat slit.
Oh, when a black guy just murdered that dude on live?
Yeah. To quote New Jack the wrestler, I'm like OJ, didn't got away with it.
I wish we didn't. Wish he didn't. And all the guys defending him, like, I'm sure he's crying right now. No, he isn't.
No, he's not. He got away with it.
Probably hiding so someone doesn't try and kill him.
You know, I will say that I think, okay, my most charitable interpretation is that the guy was just, he's crying because he was just too stupid to realize that you probably could kill somebody like that. You know what I mean? But that, like, but then still, that's manslaughter. So it's like, that's at least second degree. So it's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter at that point when the guy died. Like, they didn't even give him full game suspensions. They give you full game suspensions for fucking elbowing somebody in the face nowadays.
Or high sticking.
Or high sticking, yeah. Yeah, like, it's ridiculous, man. Like, and it wasn't like, okay, it wasn't like when Marty McSorley high sticked Brashear, he like gave him a concussion and he like, it threatened his hockey career. Okay, that's different. Like, Marty McSorley, I believe they suspended him for like a whole year. And that was justified. Because like the guy literally assaulted him on the ice with his stick. But it's like, this guy, if he didn't consciously think that it was like attempted murder, he at least should get manslaughter. Like, even if he thought like, oh, I didn't expect him to get his throat slashed. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this is so fishy. It's so fishy. It's like, it's incredible.
Yeah, I just think it's murder.
He extended his leg. Like, it
was a kick.
Yeah. It was a
this
kick.
guy has
It's
a long history of fines, penalties, barring from games because of just unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah, when he was in the AHL, they kicked him out. Yeah.
And so, like, gee, for all that being a trailblazer, congratulations for being a trailblazer of ethnic diversity in hockey by murdering a guy. Go to prison.
Yeah, you know what ironically would have prevented this?
Not putting a diversity push in hockey?
Oh, that too. But I mean, like, no, if they had the enforcer again, because maybe you'd think twice about doing something.
You think twice about it before some 6'8" Slavic-looking goon goes up and beats the shit out of you.
Or
with his bare
a
hand.
5'9" Ty Domi comes and just socks you in the face. Yeah.
Bring back the goon. Bring
back the goon, unironically. No, it's true, because if you knew that, if you knew a huge guy like a Bob Probert or a Marty McSorley, or even a small guy that was like tough as nails like Ty Domi, if you knew Ty Domi was going to come and get you after your period was done, I'm sorry, man, maybe you think twice about doing that. Like, it's crazy. Like, this guy, like, not even Kazuchika Okada could land that perfect of a drop kick. I'm sorry, man. Like, that was a drop kick, and like, he extended his leg just perfectly. Like, yeah, man, like, there's black guys who were enforcers. Yeah, there's Ryan Reeves, there's Evander Kane. Donald Brashear was a pretty good enforcer. It's just I feel like this is the problem with modern hockey. If you have kids that grow up thinking they're invincible with all of their equipment and the fact that they don't have any fighting anymore, but when they do something heinous, there's no consequences. So, like, that's what's so screwed up about it. Because, like, why is a fist fight worse than this? You know what I mean? Like, think about it for a moment. It's like they say, people that grow up in the ghettos, right? Like, is a fist fight worse than like gunning each other down on a drive-by? Like, think about it that way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of people have not been faced with a fist fight when they were growing up, And
like, this is why sports like football, like wrestling, like kendo, or I did fencing in high school and college. I did SCAs, fun on the side in college. Like, if you understand the importance of martial combat, because guys who do that stuff, I'm going to tell you this right now, as someone who's been whacked with swords and heavy objects to the face and back and legs with bruises and everything, guys who do stuff like that are going to understand the difference between play fighting and actual fighting. Guys that don't know 100%. The difference, they're going to respond. Like, people be like, I'm just playing, man. And it's just, it's like,
Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
No, to them, it's like, I'm going to die if I don't like fight back with lethal force. And so, if you ban that and you feminize like the school space, the workspace, like the playground, like, people aren't going to know the difference, and people are going to just fight.
That aggression has to go somewhere.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with like understanding and appreciating the respect between you and another player or you and another duelist. Like, if I get my ass handed to me in like 5 rounds, you know, okay, that guy's good. I respect him. I'm not gonna like go out and slash him and get angry and impulsive. I have to learn that there's a beauty to the duel. And if you don't have that, it's gone and it goes away really quickly. And so people just get impulsive and low IQ and chimp out way faster. And then it just becomes an entire shit show where people are killing each other. And there's no respect for it. So like when everyone got like Tucker, like he said, like, it's not how white men fight. He was right. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. Like a guy that all he understands is how to be just sort of impulsive, and it's awful.
That's what I mean. If an enforcer tuned him up a few times when he was doing that shit, you know, maybe things would have been different. You know, like think of it that way. It's like pro wrestling. If you start shooting on somebody in the middle of the ring, it's bad for business, man, because then nobody can trust you in the ring anymore. The storyline is disrupted. You're putting another guy in a bad position. So that's why the ability to shoot on somebody was only used sparingly. You know what I mean? Like that's so. I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers that used to take liberties with people, but you know, yeah, like apparently, I'm trying to think who. I mean, Iron Sheik used to do that. He used to take liberties with people, but you know, he only did it. You know, it depends. It depends. Because then you could also get your ass kicked if you try doing that stuff. You know, like there's plenty of times. There's a series on YouTube called "When Wrestling Gets Real." Mm-hmm. There was this one like an experienced guy that tried to shoot on the Great Sasaki in Japan, and the Sasaki just like he just like kicked his lights out. Like it was, you know. Yeah, that's why you never shoot on people, kids. If you're a professional wrestler, it's not good for business. So, you know. Anyways. Unless you're in MMA, unless you're like John Jones and they let you do it, you know.
Yeah.
Let you poke people's eyes out because you're John Jones.
When you're an MMA fighter, they let you do it.
Yeah. No, but in MMA you can't poke the guy's eyes out. But
yeah,
they just let John Jones keep getting away with it. I don't know why. Not that he needs it though. He's like the best fighter in the world. So
shall we get to the super chats?
We haven't gotten to the other chapters, but should we get to the super chats?
Well, we're almost at 3 hours. We'll have more people to cover this with next week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Do you want to talk about what
we're gonna have the Longhouse boys on next week. Our favorite Nordic Scandinavian friends, who are often live the same time we are. They'll be joining us. So Mr. Walrus and I think Luddick Path will be on with us next week.
Yeah.
A big crossover. There was like one Thursday a few weeks back where like they weren't live and we weren't live. Nice. And he DMs me and he's like, "It's a cold day in hell when the Longhouse and the Digital Archipelago aren't on the air." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yep.
So we're gonna have a crossover. It'll be fun.
Do you think we're pretty fair about the migrant thing? Because like that's what I mean. Like if you that's what I mean. Like when I see this stuff about like, oh, they deserve it because they voted for it. Like, okay, if your politics is you care about like Europeans, right? Then why would you be gloating over their destruction? That's like I never understood that, man. Like
I guess the point becomes at what point is your sexism or your misogyny bigger than your hatred for immigrants? Or not even hatred, but like how much is your misogyny going to overplay your woman hating or whatever? You know, like I get it, haha, dumb woman does dumb thing, but I would like to think that
no, but even men that get assaulted by migrants, that like libtards, right? Like I understand they're libtard. Like, okay, here's the thing. I understand, right? Like, is it a straw man, Louis? Is it a straw man? Like, I've seen this, you know, I've seen people that are gloat over this stuff. But at the same time, like, I mean,
I made jokes about that libtard who got stabbed.
I'm not immune to it, of course.
I'm not immune to it. I mean, like, I'm just as much a criminal of it, and it's bad that I do. But, like,
right,
you know, like, the real answer to this would be, like, to never, like, the victory condition is when, like, I don't know, my soft-heartedness is, like, too left-wing, I guess. I don't know,
that's the victory condition.
I want to, like, victory for me is when I'm considered left-wing. Because like the liberals that are just like, oh, we could just rehabilitate and we could let them go there instead of like, you know, corporal punishment and actual jail time. No, like that needs to happen. Sorry, I do think that, you know, if you it's a tragedy that the guy got hoisted by his own petard in an ethnic sense, but
I think though
In
it's
a just
different.
world, that wouldn't exist because that dude wouldn't be a libtard.
Yeah. No, I think, okay, what I qualify this as, it's different if like a random Scandinavian woman gets abused by a migrant who may or may not have voted, than like a leftard journalist, like that one guy that got, destroyed by his own pet. Like that guy, he was like a predator. You know what's funny?
Oh yeah,
Is that
the guy that tweeted out that he was basically, abused as a kid or groomed as a
yeah,
kid, his own words, but
yeah.
he was also doing the same thing.
Yeah, that guy, like that 18-year-old black kid, he like was being abused by that journalist, and like that's different. You should gloat over those people. Like they deserve it, right? But like a random Scandinavian person getting assaulted who may have voted for like a left-wing party, like that's kind of a bit of a stretch, you know what I mean? Like that's like,
Yeah.
to gloat over it time. Like I understand the beginning of the migrant crisis online, we had memes about it and all that, but after a while it's like you have to look at, okay, if you value the integrity of, you know, your people and all that stuff, then I think you should think about things a bit in more of a systemic manner, in a systematic way, than just gloating over a leftard getting owned. You know what I mean? But when it comes to these journalists and these Antifa people that get owned by their own, by their own progressive stack people, that's different. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like that one like Chapo guy, or he wasn't a Chapo guy. He wasn't the gay one. He was that other one that got filmed on the street getting
Yeah.
redacted.
Yeah.
That was just sheer stupidity. That guy could have just went the other way. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
just like that's different. That he deserves it, 100%. But like a random person in Europe, it's just, I don't know, man. Like that's a bit of a stretch. Like even if they did vote for like a pro-immigration party, it's like a lot of the migrant crisis has a lot of different causes. And sometimes it's not in the hands of people that vote for particular political parties. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah. Even people that are like gloating with the current conflict with Hamas and, with Palestine, and it's like there's a lot of sadistic things that people are posting nowadays, and it's just like, well, we've talked about it before on the show, Prue.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely awful.
yeah, yeah.
Ah.
But anyways, and like there is something about exploitation. What do they call it? Atrocity content?
Disaster porn.
Yeah, yeah, atrocity pornography. Like there is something to be said about like, here's a picture of redacted children. This is why you have to support me. And it's like, I think that as much as I side with the plight of one people that have a legitimate grievance, I do think that those images are sort of like it desensitizes you. You know what I mean? And to use the destruction of people, especially children, for a political cause, there should be. I understand that it denotes the gravity of a situation, but in the age of the internet, where those images become ubiquitous to the point of being banal, I think that you should consciously think about the stuff that you repost and the stuff that you post, even if it's for a good cause. There is something that it does something to your soul. You know what I mean? To see children being redacted just like by browsing the timeline. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, yeah, man. Like
Like
I understand it's to lament a very serious issue, but the way that it's done in a gratuitous nature for propaganda purposes, there's something wrong there. You know
like
what
if
I
you were
mean?
to scroll on the timeline right now, the trending thing is a video of some Hamas fighter coming out of a tunnel, placing a bomb on a Merkava
Yeah,
tank, and then firing an RPG at it.
yeah, yeah. I
No
saw
warning,
that.
right? But no,
I've
I
heard
mean,
pop music on that video too.
yeah. So
There's been edits. Yeah, yeah. No, but that's what I mean. Like it's like, for example, yeah, I sympathize with the Palestinians, as I've said publicly, but like fucking, people posting videos of children being redacted, like it's, like I understand it's because you want to humanize the gravity of the situation, but like to do it so flippantly is sort of like there's something wrong there, and it's like I don't know, man. Like these issues, they're out of our hands. They're out of our hands.
Well, definitely that.
You can only pray that the conflict ends quickly. But
it's like we said last week. We're people want you to have takes, but at the same time, we're powerless to stop it. I mean, like
exactly.
I have no leverage over the federal government,
foreign policy of our country.
Foreign policy,
Yeah. But I mean, it's yeah. But at the same time, like these populations protesting for Palestine, they hate us on the right wing too. So it's like, what are you gonna do, right? Like it's we've been over the take. We've been over that. And let's get to let's get to it. Because I talked about this on my solo episode, the free version. In the public version, I reviewed 8mm, but anyways, we have a PayPal donation by Owen Zaleski for $6.64. Hello, gents. I know I said it wouldn't send more until Gio gets entropy, says in bold letters, but I need to thank you both. Last stream, I sent a chat about my Substack, and then a fellow DA listener reached out to me. I know a fellow Christian poet's great work, so shout out to let me just get the PayPal review message. View message. Come on, man. Why is it?
So we're just gonna out? Couldn't tell you. We're gonna keep the tab open while we're doing this.
Oh wow, yeah. Sorry. Stop sharing. There we go. I don't know why my PayPal is being the app is being buggy. So yeah, I see. So if Owen Zaleski, if you could reproduce in the chat, then I cut off the last part. So there's some interesting comments.
Chat.
Yeah, yeah. Owen Zaleski, it's not similar to like the video of Rittenhouse, because Rittenhouse, that was a legal thing, and I feel like that was also important that it got out to the public, because there are people.
I mean, it's also I would argue it's also important for it to be out on Twitter.
Yeah,
I mean, you should be able to see this. I'm just simply saying that, like, I think since Elon took over, the proliferation of war content has been easier to get out than before. I'm not as Telegram reliant. The same thing with the war in Ukraine. I find it to be. I don't think it's a net. Well, sometimes I wish there were warning, especially when it's like dead children.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it is a good thing that people do see the war, because it changes people's opinions on the war very fucking fast.
True.
And you should be very well aware of how bad war can be. So yeah, I mean, it's something that I don't take lightly. I just wish that it didn't come with porn bots every other fucking follow.
Well, there's an interesting comment by Robert Verland where he said, like, well, the Palestinians, they were outplayed century ago, or so who cares about negotiating? I mean, yeah, I get it, but like, you got to realize, like,
we also know the Israeli
force
government
them out entirely. Like,
the Israeli government's not going to negotiate. Like, so either they send those people packing, which would arguably, in the eyes of the Israelis, probably be the better quote unquote humanitarian option, or they just kill every last man, woman, and child, which I personally think they want that more.
Oh, yeah, they want revenge, obviously. That's
I think that it is in the preferable position, like optically. Yeah,
but even America's not like letting them do that fully. They're like, you better cool it. Like,
because the Americans don't want to go to war with Iran. I don't think that we're capable of doing it. Because war with Iran means war with other powers in the Middle East, and we would be in not so friendly territory there.
You may even risk a war with China and Russia.
Well, we would definitely risk war with Russia if we're going to go try and defend it. Like, the risk of fighting Russians in Syria is more likely than it is us fighting Russians in Ukraine, although we're technically doing that anyway.
But, we are.
Like this. You're already in World War III, and whoever had that tweet that says World War III will happen, but you're still gonna have to go to work, you're living in it.
Yep,
you're living in it right now. True. This is World War III. You still have to go to work.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, that's why I think like even the Americans are telling them to cool it with the bloodlust. You know what I mean? Like, it's and so, but that's what I mean. Even if like they kick them all out, like, you could argue about like the 48 agreement, like the legitimacy of that is also dubious. But I'm just saying, like, you could argue, but like they want to get them out completely. That's different. You know what I mean? Like, even if you buy into the whole 48 agreement, like that's you know what I mean? Like, and it would cause a huge crisis for the other Arab nations. Like, Egypt would be fucked, like politically and even like materially. They'd have to account for 2 million of these people. And then another thing too, I was under a Nicolo Salo tweet. I was replying to somebody where I was explaining this to my old man about the Egyptians and the Jordanians, how they would be screwed if they participate in the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians, right? Because that's what it is. Even if you're just peacefully removing them, that's still cleansing them of that area, right? I mean, it's not as dramatic as like, you know, G-word eyed, but like still it's a form of ethnic cleansing by displacing them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and I said, like, basically the position of these other Arab countries, especially Egypt and Jordan, they would become totally anathema in the Arab world. And also another thing too you have to account for is that if you displace all of the Palestinians, these are the most certain segments of Palestine, like Hamas, they're like the most radicalized and trained people. You're going to have terrorist attacks in Europe. You might even have terrorist attacks in America. Did you think about that one? You know what I mean? So
it would probably be to some extent supported by the state.
100%. Yeah, and the leftoids will probably support them committing those acts of terror anyway.
Funny how radical Islamic terrorism kind of saw a quote-unquote decrease in public media attention as soon as we stopped having a lot of money and troops in the area.
Yeah, very funny, eh? Funny how that works. No, but if you scatter the Palestinians, there will probably be more terrorist attacks in Europe and America. You know, you never. It's a possibility.
It's a very real possibility.
Yeah, and so, but of course, you know, the greatest ally does not care about that. So
no, of course not.
Yeah. Anyways, so thank you, on Zaletsky. I will probably get Entropy soon. I know I have to do it, but it's just I've been backlogged with writing. I've been focusing on, you know, doing this show, putting out a solo episode, recording with the cat last night. So, you know, yeah. Let's move on to the super chat, and this is the last chance to get the super chats in. And also go to patreon.com/Just go to subscribestar.com/the Prudentialist. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. For 100 Mexican pesos. I don't know if I could do a very dramatic one for 100 Mexican pesos. That's racist.
Okay.
I've seen things so I want to be like somewhat optical, Prude. Come on.
Buddy, we have 64 other episodes that will tell you we're not. I was just listening to what we were doing like the last couple of weeks. Man, no, we're never going to get bought out. You're never going to get your chance to sell out to anybody, because even then they're like, oh.
No, true. We may not be able to sell it to someone, but we as an optical is like...
This is why Night Owls isn't recorded.
Yeah. No, but are we as unoptical as other people, though? Think about it.
No, we're not TRS levels of unoptical.
No, did you see that, like, what was that account, Goyam Defense League, where they're, like, putting out, like, QR codes and Halloween to their, like, Wignat documentary? Oh my god, bro, that's so LARPy.
Yeah, we're not that gonzo.
Maybe we should, like, give out QR codes to the Digital Archipelago to, like... No, because then that would be like, oh, you're radicalizing children. So it's like, we're not a kid-friendly show, man.
No, we're not. Is this made for kids? No.
I don't want people under the... I don't know. I mean, you know that tweet about, like, I going on Twitter, I risk getting exposed to the opinions of a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
You know? No, man, I don't want kids to watch our show. No.
No, I don't.
No, but I saw that was trending. That was like,
see, like if we were to ever do a Digital Archipelago live, you know, like Art of Darkness live or whatever, it'd be like a venue with alcohol. I do not want Zoomers present. I don't want kids.
No, Zoomers will be present, the older ones, but not like, you know. There's Zoomers that are 21 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, that was like so LARPy, like that, like handing out QR codes to your like Wignat documentary on BitChute. Like,
That
Oh
is
my
kind of
God,
fucking
bro.
funny.
That is funny. Anyways, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. The Austrian painter dancing with Maleficent on Halloween. All those moments would be lost in the third word, like tears in the rain.
Oh
Oh my
my.
God, there's some crazy Hyperborean edits out there. Um, I don't know if I could put the words up because he mentions the yay, but can I put it up?
What
Benji
word?
Benji,
What word?
the Coke,
I don't.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, sure.
All right. For $10 by NG Benji, here's the Coca-Cola money I owed you guys.
Oh man.
Whoa.
Finally, I can have my 1880s style Coca-Cola.
Yeah, there you go.
The way God intended.
Yeah.
Appreciate it,
They get
Angie Benji.
traditional malt shop Coca-Cola. And Peter Young for $5. In Orthodox Church, candidates for diaconate and
Diaconate and the
deaconate.
priesthood. Yeah, they can't get married after ordination.
Oh man,
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate
the
that.
loophole is getting married before.
Yeah, you have to be married beforehand.
And for $5 by our good friend Lou Templar. So yeah, thank you, Peter Young. Eastern Catholics. Oh yeah, that's right. Eastern Catholics can get married. Also allow marriage before seminary. The understanding with the papacy is that it's concession for trying times. Yeah, there are priests that have been married that they
A
had
concession
children.
for dealing with the unionists. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a controversy there, but I'm not too well versed in that the union thing to get into it. But and Sam153, our good friend, for $10. Simple Sneed, how's tossed salad, scrambled eggs? So bad it's good or just terrible?
He's asking about the new Frasier show. I haven't started. I've wrapped up on the show, which didn't take long to wrap through. I start this weekend. So Sam, I will probably send out a tweet over the weekend telling people how bad it is. But TR Hudson and I are gonna complain about it soon.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'm terrified.
Nice.
But it's my comfort show.
How
I'm
many
not gonna
seasons
lie.
were there?
There were 11 seasons of Cheers, which from season 3 onward, he was a recurring character and became part of the main cast.
Oh
And then
yeah, that's right.
and then there was 11 seasons of Frasier.
Whoa! Cheers
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Cheers was pretty good.
I used to watch it back in the day. They had reruns on Peachtree TV. I think that's why I watched it.
Yeah.
Coming from school. And for 1-9 from Tim Miller, is Mama GF alive? Mama GF alive? Give the real thoughts, please, Gio-sama. I don't know. I hope she's alive. I don't to be honest, as much as I don't like JF because he blocked me many years ago. And he's just kind of, not to get into drama with his personal history, but I think the rumors that he did something I don't think are true. I don't want to accuse him of that. I think it's just stupid internet memes. But I mean, I think his explanation has holes in it. But the fact that Mama JF was kind of an eccentric autistic person, probably just went off on her own accord. I mean, that is a likely scenario. And so I don't want to accuse JF of anything. I don't think it's just, it's like a true crime drama meme that he did something to her. I don't think he did.
And I haven't been following it closely enough either to know anything about it. So
if the RCMP is interviewing him and they conclude that he doesn't belong in a jail cell, then given his history,
I was about to say, given this guy's history, his political opinions, if they thought and sniffed something dirty on him, I think JF would be in prison already, right? You know, they would have jailed him awaiting trial. The fact that they haven't yet kind of tells me something.
I saw these radfems saying that he may have done something, but it's just because you hate the guy politically and he says stupid things about women doesn't mean that he's automatically he redacted Mama JF. Come on, man. If the RCMP is involved and he's being interviewed by them and they have no grounds to arrest him, especially you said, given his history and everything, given his political opinions, then it's he I know the cleaning thing is suspicious by saying that he cleaned his house from top to bottom, but it could just be that Mama JF was a messy person. And it's just, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that there's an automatic and you know what I mean? I don't have the best opinion of JF Garepi, but to say that he did something to her is, I think, without evidence, is stupid. It's just slander. You know what I mean? So I understand if you're a Radfem, you don't like him, but like to say that he like hid the body is like, get out of here. You know what I mean?
And I mean, for all we know, the RCMP might just do a more thorough search of his property or wherever. Like, we don't know. And I'm not following it. I'm not going to comment without knowing anything. So I'm just going to
exactly. But the fact that the RCMP is involved is a sign that he probably didn't do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Is he like a mastermind? True, you know? Like, come on, man. Like, it's,
I'm a little doubtful. You know?
Yeah, he's a smart guy, but like, is he that smart? I don't know. Like, it's, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just stupid speculation. Jack, for $2, can you gentlemen explain what is based world? Well, based world is an image in your heart that you have to realize over time. It's kind of like Nirvana.
Yeah, it's the idealized political future in which victory has been achieved.
Exactly. Whatever that victory looks like.
That's basically it. Like, what does your idealized right-wing world look like after the fake and gay world is over? That's really
it. Could even be, yeah. What were we gonna say?
No, that's it.
Oh, it could even be something as like even like as pragmatic as like what Pat Buchanan wanted for America. I mean, that alone is terrifying to leftoids, but still, that's not as bad as like what other people think. You know. Oh, it's Pat Buchanan's birthday.
Yes, it is.
Happy birthday,
85
Pat Buchanan.
today.
Whoa!
Happy birthday, Pat Buchanan. America should have listened to you when you opened your mouth sooner.
America does not deserve you.
It didn't. He is the cornerstone that so many rejected, but any future politics will probably have his ideas somewhere.
Oh, definitely, yeah. The frogs of the future that will become the politicians of the future, and the Republic, maybe well, if the Republican Party doesn't, sunset.
The frogs of the future will have pictures of Pat Buchanan saying, "I failed you, master." You know, like Dexter's 100%. Laboratory with Einstein.
Yeah, like Dexter's lab.
I failed you.
And for $4.99 by John Carter, our good friend, the threat of an enforcer beating you up after the game doesn't serve as a deterrent for people who literally cannot conceive of that future. Well,
that's also true.
It worked in hockey for 100 years, though.
Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, but he's talking about certain individuals who can't understand stop or else shoot, and then they just break dance
low
anyway
time
and they get shot by the cops. Yeah, low time preference people. Maybe we just don't let them in.
Yeah.
Avoid less.
I mean, no, there's been good black hockey players. Just that, like, if this guy is like repeatedly being kicked out of different leagues, it's like, why are you like? You know what I mean? Like, it's
kicked out of 100 anyways.
Yeah, but no, they're great black hockey players. You know, there was Jerome McGinley. Even Evander Kane's a pretty good player. I know people like he fights dirty, but like he's an entertaining guy though. He is a good hockey player. And I think like, a guy like Connor McDavid needs an enforcer like Evander Kane to protect him, because like literally every single player is going after Connor McDavid because he is the best in the league. So it's like, if you're having your heels nipped all the time, you need a guy like Evander Kane behind your back. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Anyways, at least traditionally that's what the role of the enforcer. Put it this way, Wayne Gretzky could not have been as great as he was if it wasn't for guys like Semenko and Marty McSorley. Because if you didn't have like a psycho enforcer watching over Wayne Gretzky, he wouldn't have had that record, because guys would literally be bodying him and checking him every single night. I mean, think of it. It's just logical, right? You go after the best player. So you need a guy like Marty McSorley who's insane.
They would have slashed his throat if that were the case.
Yeah, exactly. But if you knew that Marty McSorley was there to just like knock your teeth out, then it's like, yeah. And unless I have a PayPal link, guys, if you want to donate directly. And of course, it's always nice to have, Patreon and Substack's only $5 a month, guys, and you get exclusives. I'm going to go back to doing general reviews when I have time. So, come on, guys. You get the Discord, which I have to, wrangle in from time to time. But finally, for $2 from Brett Taylor, our good friend Brent, Glenn Beck disgusted Wojciech.
Oh, I can do that for you.
I don't know. Should we bash?
I don't understand. Too hard? I don't understand how Glenn Beck can have such a position being a Mormon. considering they're so separated from any sort of dispensationalist understanding of Israel. But hey, Glenn
America's like Israel to the Mormons.
Glenn Beck has a job to do, and that job is to do exactly what Glenn Beck does.
That rant was crazy. That I gotta admit, that rant was crazy.
Yeah,
I don't want to go out. Listen,
I don't even know if I could repeat what he said without demonetizing the stream, just because,
yeah,
woo,
that was bad. Yeah.
If I had an employer like that, I would understand why I would also stay quiet on that issue.
Well, the Blaze does good work, that's the problem with it. It's just that that rant was crazy.
Yeah.
I think people that work for the Blaze, they know where they stand, so I also wouldn't comment too far on,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I mean. As the good of work as Glenn Beck has, fostered, it's you gotta there's reminders that he comes from that Fox News neocon milieu, so without saying too much for YouTube. But this has been a good episode, and we'll like to see you all next week when we have Frens on the Digital Archipelago once again. It's been a while since we had a guest on, so yeah.
Was that it?
Wait, what's it?
Was that the super chat?
Yeah, I know. There's not a lot of super chats this week. Come on, guys. What the fuck?
Oh.
It's I'm gonna go on TJ Kirk on your ass. Only $2? You kidding me?
Don't go full banana on him, Jesus.
Yeah, or don't go full Stefan Molyneux on. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't come back to Twitter unless I get an apology.
Are you gonna screw Prude next week like this? Come on, guys. I know the economy's hard, but give deep. Or if you don't have a good credit rating, go screw yourself. You'll burn in hell. That was from Vice City, Pastor Richards.
Oh yeah.
The Salvation statue. Oh my god, I feel so bad because now KG for $10 with a super sticker. I feel bad because I begged. Now I feel all guilty that he gave me $10. So thank you, KG, from the bottom. Thank you so much, my friend. I feel bad for begging. I can't. I don't have a heart.
Pulling tricks on the digital corner. Little whore, aren't you, Gio?
You said that once when I had to tweet out that thing for $100 by John Carter.
Did he actually? Was it for $100? I feel like it was so much less. Okay, good to know.
It was for $100. Yeah,
I didn't even make the meme $20. I tweet you long time. I think
it was something about It was something about Ayala. It was
I think it was about Ayala. Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to find that episode and go find the super chat.
Yeah, I forget.
Oh well.
But no, I mean, I feel guilty. See, this is why I can't be a primo grifter. I mean, listen, if you want value for your money, go and subscribe to my Patreon or my Substack. But other than that, I do appreciate the super chats, and we have gotten both of us. We've gotten some pretty big ones. So,
the ad revenue pays for itself.
Yeah, there you go. So, but I feel like we've had a lot of meaningful discussions on this episode. I mean, there's a lot of jokes and all that, and it got a little serious.
I was told. I'll read this from a friend. The digital archipelago sometimes has a surreal blackpilling effect on me. It feels like I'm reading a Philip K. Dick story sometimes. That whole talk about images losing their effect on humanity and memes taking their place. Everything must be personal now. And I couldn't help but react with the I don't know what to tell you, man, sort of emoji reaction on Telegram.
We'll do a white pill episode one day. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week with our friends that can be white pilling. Who knows? We'll ask them how it's up in sort of the Nordic Scandinavian North. We'll see how it goes. But until then, find us on Patreon. Find us on Subscribestar. The Mr. Prude's Wares Teespring link has some Digital Archipelago merch. Shirts have been purchased as well as mugs for the show, which is great. And I've got it on Substack and Subscribestar and YouTube channel memberships. We've got the beginning series of the Stalin's War reading and review. So Raging Manchel and I spent 2 hours today talking about Chapter 1, about how the Soviets industrialized and how America's industrial base and its government was infiltrated by communists before World War II even started, by the way. So if you're interested in that, we'll be also recording this Sunday evening as well. So we'll have the next part out recorded. So stay tuned and we'll be live next week.
Nice. And I just recorded with Kathrine another episode of the Computer Room. We break down a mockumentary film about furries. So that'll be and gay people. So that'll be good. Yeah, I know. I know.
Only Gio and Kathrine Dee can do a review of documentaries about queers and furries and all sorts of shit.
We also have an episode planned to talk about the explosion of incest content. So
Lord,
that'll be good. That's gonna be a harrowing one.
Oh, yeah. I bet I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna add this one to my cavalcade of profile picture.
You know what's funny? You could watch this thing. It's actually a pretty good film. It's called Ruckus, where it's about this like guy that does a documentary on furries, but this one particular furry. Yeah, he could have warned you.
I tried to warn you.
No, it's on YouTube for free. It's called Ruckus. You know what? Ruckus is also the name of a pretty good wrestler from the old CZW days. But yeah, Ruckus is about, it's like this mockumentary style film. It's like got a like really weird surreal structure. It goes back and forth. But it's pretty good. The Digital Archipelago, the playlist is linked in the episode show notes here, and also the link to the Computer Room podcast is also linked in the show notes in the description in this episode too. That's all on my Linktree as well. It's all on my linktree.com/GiantGio. And it's got all and all of Prude's links are in the description here, with his subscribe star, his channel, his Twitter, his Substack. So yeah, there you go. All right, thank you everyone. As always, God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.